Chapter 2018. Disqualification? When they heard this, everyone wondered if they had heard wrongly. He looked around and realized that the others were just as dumbfounded as he was. What Lord Feng said was indeed correct, to disqualify Xiaoqun from participating in the 7 Royal Highness tournament. What happened? What's going on? Why is he suddenly disqualified? I don't think this has ever happened before. Puzzled questions hovered in everyone's mind. Even Qin Mu frowned slightly as he looked at the Golden Dragon Palace's 3rd palace master. The other party shook his head, indicating that he was confused as well. In the Blue Dragon Palace, Su Changfeng exclaimed in shock. Why was he suddenly disqualified? This was especially the case with Lord Feng's words. They were extremely serious and did not seem like they were joking at all. First Palace Master Yexin looked up and smiled embarrassedly. Lord Feng, are you joking? The white-bearded old man said coldly, do you think I'm someone who would joke around? These words completely confirmed Lord Feng's attitude. Xiaoqun's qualifications were really going to be revoked. Aside from confusion and doubt, the other Divine Dragon Palace disciples immediately felt a strange feeling in their hearts. Suddenly, there was one less heavyweight opponent. The second round seemed to be a lot easier. No, we don't accept this. Why did you disqualify junior brother Xiaoqun? Even if you are from Ancestor Dragon City, you should at least give an explanation. What did junior brother Xiaoqun do wrong? Why did you disqualify us? Is Ancestor Dragon City targeting our Heaven Dragon Palace? Damn it, how could this be? The disciples of Heaven Dragon Hall, on the other hand, fell into a state of frenzy. This blow was truly too sudden for them. I can't accept it at all. Yexin, take care of your disciple. I have something to ask Xiaoqun. Rage flashed in Lord Feng's eyes as he berated the First Palace Master. The First Palace Master endured the dissatisfaction and rage in his heart. He stopped the First Palace Master and said, don't argue first. Let Lord Feng ask the questions. I want to know what exactly happened as well. Although he was dissatisfied, he knew. Ancestor Dragon City's Lord Feng would not make random decisions without thinking. The place fell silent once more. Lord Feng's gaze landed on Xiaoqun as he said in a deep voice, Xiaoqun? I want to know who you are and what is your identity? Why did you sneak into my Divine Dragon Empire and join the Heaven Dragon Palace? What is your scheme? Xiaoqun was shocked. He knew that his fake identity had been exposed. Xiaoqun was not a person of the Divine Dragon Empire. Back then, for the sake of joining the Heaven Dragon Palace, he had to fake an identity. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was why the other party wanted to investigate him. Xiaoqun couldn't be sure what had gone wrong. The First Palace Master was startled when he heard this. Lord Feng's words were implying that Xiaoqun's identity was fake. That's impossible, right? What's so good about forging the identity of a mixed-blood dragon? The Divine Dragon Empire had tens of thousands of mixed-blood dragon cultivators. Under normal circumstances, no one would pay much attention to them. I am Xiaoqun, the Heaven Dragon Palace's Heaven-class core disciple Xiaoqun. I am a dragon race disciple in the first place. I cannot be considered to have sneaked into the Divine Dragon Empire, Xiaoqun said softly with a calm expression. Lord Feng retorted coldly, you still want to quibble? I already ordered people to use Ancestor Dragon City's Special Intelligence Network to investigate your background. Why do you think the second stage was delayed for so long? I have no proof, so why would I speak carelessly? Earlier, when Lord Feng was observing Xiaoqun, he accidentally discovered that the aura of Xiaoqun's bloodline was somewhat strange. Xiaoqun did not have the bloodline of the 6-colored divine dragons or a true dragon or a mixed-blood dragon. As for what bloodline it was, Lord Feng did not dare to be sure. However, this was clearly somewhat strange. Lord Feng could not help but suspect it. Lord Feng ordered people to use the intelligence network to investigate Xiaoqun's background. It would have been fine if he had not done so. With one check, Lord Feng discovered that Xiaoqun's identity was fake. Then, he connected this to his strange bloodline. Clearly, this person was not qualified to continue participating in the competition between the 7 outer palaces. Before Lord Feng figured out the matter, He definitely could not let Xiaoqin enter Ancestor Dragon City. His identity is fake? The Heaven Dragon Palace disciples were somewhat surprised, not daring to believe it. The other Divine Dragon Palace disciples were similarly shocked. As they looked at Xiaoqin, their expressions turned somewhat strange. Xiaoqin faked his identity, altered his bloodline, and infiltrated the Divine Dragon Empire. The Divine Dragon Empire was one of the northern region's giants. Even in the Central Great Realm, it could be considered a super faction. Naturally, the other factions would send scouts. Xiaoqin did not say anything, tacitly agreeing to it. Lord Feng showed a sullen expression as he said, "I thought that an incredible person appeared in the Heaven Dragon Palace. It turns out that he is just a spy. I nearly let you sneak into Ancestor Dragon City. Fortunately, you can't hide your bloodline from this old man. Which faction sent you?" The situation changed somewhat quickly. Earlier, Xiaoqin was the center of attention, the dark horse that suppressed Qin Mu. In the blink of an eye, Xiaoqin's identity changed, becoming a spy. Lord Feng wanted to capture Xiaoqin on the spot. "No faction. I am just a dragon race disciple wandering outside. I have no identity. Sir Feng, you can say that I forged my identity, but don't say that I'm a spy." Now that things had come to this, Xiaoqin didn't want to explain too much, but the word spy was a bit of an insult to him. The first palace master hurriedly said, "Lord Feng, the matter of forging an identity is really not a big deal. In this great thousand realms, there are really many dragon race martial artists wandering outside. The dragon race bloodline in Xiaoqin's body cannot be faked. It's impossible for him to be a spy. Sir Feng, this matter cannot be concluded so quickly. There have been cases of fake identities in the past. It can be big or small, but it's still a bit inappropriate to say that Xiaoqin is a spy so decisively." The Green Dragon Palace's palace master said softly as he stepped forward. The label of being a spy was a little too big. Once it was confirmed that one was a spy, it was basically a death sentence. No one could save them. Out of caution, the Green Dragon Palace's palace master helped to say something. When Lord Feng saw the situation, he entered deep thought. Then he looked at Xiaoqin and said, "Not to mention faking movement techniques, the bloodline in his body is the greatest doubt. I'll give you one chance. Return to Ancestor Dragon City with me. After I investigate the truth of your bloodline, I will naturally clear your name." Return to Ancestor Dragon City to test his bloodline? Xiaoqin roughly understood what was going on. The other party felt that his bloodline was a little strange, but could not determine that he was of the Blue Dragon bloodline. In the end, they had underestimated the people of Ancestor Dragon City. Although most people could not recognize the Heaven Dragon imprisoned in the Starry Heavens Dragon prison, most people would not be able to recognize its bloodline. But that didn't mean it wouldn't arouse suspicion. "Sorry, I can't go." "Xiaoqin, why don't you go?" "Go, as long as I can verify that you really have the bloodline of the dragon race. A fake identity is nothing. I will guarantee your safety." The first palace master shouted uncontrollably at Xiaoqin's rejection, unable to control his emotions. Xiaoqin felt a trace of warmth in his heart. However, he could only smile bitterly. "First palace master, I can swear that I am definitely of the dragon race. However, I really can't go. If Xiaoqin went to Ancestor Dragon City, if the old monsters of Ancestor Dragon City came out, they would definitely recognize his bloodline." Xiaoqin had no idea how the Blue Dragon race went extinct. How could he dare to expose himself? Xiaoqin really wanted to go to Ancestor Dragon City. However, he really did not want to enter like this. After more than 5 years of wandering and suffering, Xiaoqin gritted his teeth and arrived here. It looked like he was about to succeed. He could enter Ancestor Dragon City and meet the people he wanted to meet. He was only half a step away from the door, but it ended in the blink of an eye. The affairs of the world were unfathomable. The bitterness was indescribable. Who could understand my heart? Before Lord Feng could say anything, the Golden Dragon Palace master suddenly smiled coldly. "Interesting. Where do you get your confidence to think that you have the right to refuse? Since Lord Feng has spoken, you have to go whether you want to or not. Spy, you are really mocking my divine dragon empire for having no one left. Today, I will take you down on behalf of Lord Feng. Right after the Golden Dragon Palace master spoke, a dragon roar came from his body. Then he soared into the air and threw a punch at Xiao Qin. This punch seemed to merge with the sky, spreading Emperor's might. This was the Emperor Dragon Fist that only the Golden Dragon Royal Clan could cultivate. A brilliant Emperor's might surged out from the fist light, pressing down on Xiao Qin. When Lord Feng saw the situation, he frowned slightly. He knew that this Qin Mu wanted to use this opportunity to trample on Xiao Qin, to vent the hatred in his heart from having the first rank snatched away. However, after thinking about it, it was not appropriate for Lord Feng to make a move to capture this Xiao Qin. After all, Xiao Qin's identity was there. There was no harm in letting this Qin Mu make a move. Xiao Qin knew that his chances of leaving today were minuscule. However, this insignificant Qin Mu also wanted to use this opportunity to trample on him. This was truly laughable. In the 4 seas and 8 desolates, the group of dragons is leaderless. The world is unfair, and the evil dragon rules. How can one be respected? Luck is not on one's side, and life is as fragile as paper. Xiao Qin shouted, and he circulated his energy for the Supreme Dragon Fist together with that trace of the Heaven Dragon's mysteries. An unruly and berserk dragon might immediately burst out from Xiao Qin's body. When facing this punch that merged with the sky and contained a vast aura and a brilliant Emperor's might, Xiao Qin did not show any weakness. He punched with a grand and lofty Emperor's might, not showing any weakness. Supreme Dragon Fist. This is the Supreme Dragon Fist. The Dragon's Gate's forbidden technique, the Supreme Dragon Fist, was very famous. Practically all the Heaven-class core disciples present knew about it. However, this was the first time they truly saw it. The terrifying dragon might that erupted from Xiao Qin's body startled them. The moment this dragon might appeared, even the Emperor Dragon's might, which represented the orthodox Emperor Dragon, paled in comparison. Chapter 2019. Emperor Dragon Fist. The Dragon Clan's King's Fist technique had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. This fist technique was famous for being overbearing and violent. It was known as the Dragon Clan's #1 offensive fist technique. The threshold for cultivating this fist technique was also extremely high. Only the bloodline of the Dragon Emperor, the royal bloodline that inherited the fate of the empire, could cultivate it. When this fist was unleashed, all other fist techniques would pale in comparison. He was renowned throughout the entire Central world, and there were very few people who could match up to him. However, 100 years ago, the Supreme Dragon Fist appeared out of nowhere. It became the most tyrannical fist technique of the dragon race in one go, peerless. Even the Emperor Dragon Fist paled in comparison. However, Xiao Qin's cultivation requirements were even more difficult than the Emperor Dragon Fist. The resentment and viciousness contained within it was even more difficult to control, and the slightest carelessness would cause one to lose control of one's heart and fall into the path of the devil. The harsh conditions, the difficulty of cultivation, and the fact that the previous Heaven Dragon was imprisoned in the Starry Sky Dragon Penitentiary. This fist technique was like a meteor, shining brightly in the starry sky of the Empire. After releasing the most resplendent light, it instantly vanished. Since the previous Heaven Dragon was imprisoned, Xiao Qin was the second dragon race cultivator to execute the Supreme Dragon Fist. In the sky, Xiao Qin and Qin Mu fought an intense battle. One side used the Sovereign Dao Orthodox Emperor Dragon Fist that had been passed down for a long time. On one side was the unruly Supreme Dragon Fist, which raged at the unfairness of the world and hated it for being unfair. Bang! Bang! The vast and boundless fist might in the air was like a clap of thunder, deafening. Dragon roars resounded in all directions. It was not just a competition between the two fist techniques, but also the understanding and application of the Dragon Clan martial arts behind the fist techniques. A golden dragon might spread out in the entire sky behind Qin Mu. The clouds for 5,000 kilometers around sparkled with a dazzling golden light. A golden divine dragon containing Emperor's might was hidden in the clouds. Nobility, pride, sharpness, luck. The vast dragon might hidden in the boundless clouds exuded a will that made one submit to it. As for Shao Chen, he was dressed in white, and there was a sharp glint between his brows. Shao Chen's long hair and clothes fluttered in the wind of the killing intent. His entire body looked sharp and sharp. The might of the heaven dragon spread out in all directions. The evil dragon was in charge, angry at the unfairness of the heavens. The intimidating dragon roar was filled with arrogance and unwillingness to submit to the orthodox dragon might. No one expected Shao Chen to use the supreme dragon fist to face Qin Mu. Even more unexpectedly, Qin Mu's Emperor Dragon Fist quickly recovered after being at a disadvantage at first. His entire body was bathed in golden light, making him look like a golden god of war. The heavens and the earth trembled. The wrath of the Emperor Dragon was the wrath of the heavens. It was one with the heavens, and carried the might of the heavens to intimidate the group of dragons. On the light steps, the white-bearded old man wore a gloomy expression. The elders from Ancestor Dragon City behind all appeared somewhat shocked, forgetting about Shao Chen's earlier identity. Below, the first palace master's heart sank. He knew that Shao Chen was doing this on purpose. Supreme Dragon Fist. Supreme Dragon Fist. The Supreme Dragon Fist represented the highest martial technique of the dragon race. If not for the dragon race bloodline in one's body, one would not be able to successfully practice it. If one did not comprehend the mysteries of the heaven dragon, one would not be able to bring out such might. This was a refusal to submit. With just a few words, the white-bearded old man identified him as a spy and sent him to Ancestor Dragon City to investigate his bloodline. This was a refusal to submit. However, since the first palace master could tell, how could Lord Feng not? The first palace master sighed in his heart. Given Lord Feng's temper, how could he endure this? This fellow is really rebelling against the heavens. On the light steps, the gloomy white-bearded old man snorted coldly, anger appearing on his face. Even if this old man said something wrong, it is an ironclad fact that you used a fake identity to sneak into the Divine Dragon Empire. If you have any grievances, come with me to Ancestor Dragon City, and everything will be clear. Now that Shao Chen displayed this Supreme Dragon Fist, it was like slapping his old face. In the air, Qin Mu, who suppressed Shao Chen again, revealed a cold smile. The Supreme Dragon Fist is merely essence. Qin Mu's Emperor Dragon Fist indeed had a deep essence. This fist technique had been passed down for tens of thousands of years and had been systematically developed long ago. There would not be any drawbacks. On the other hand, the Supreme Dragon Fist had only been around for 100 years. There were too many areas that needed to be improved. Back then, that arrogant heaven dragon could defeat my uncle. Today, I will use the Emperor Dragon Fist to defeat you again. Emperor Dragon Fist, Sovereign Descent. Qin Mu shouted. The vast dragon might hidden in the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around suddenly infused into his body. His entire body immediately erupted with resplendent golden light. The Emperor Dragon might nearly turned solid. Boom! As the dragon might surged out, the ground, aside from the formation plate, cracked and sank. 25 years ago, the purple gold dragon emperor suppressed the heaven dragon. Could it be that the same scene would repeat itself today? The many Heaven Dragon Palace disciples could not help showing expressions of despair. Seeing the other party bring out his killing move, Shao Chen snorted coldly and suddenly waved his hand. The state of the Supreme Dragon Fist scattered from his body. Such a scene frightened many people. What was Shao Chen trying to do? In the next moment, surging killing chi erupted from Shao Chen's body. Buddhist sect's 7-kill seal. It was like the lotus flower never touching water or the sun and moon never remaining in the sky. The killing chi on Shao Chen's body multiplied. Bush. Each wave was stronger than the one before. The horrifying killing chi spread out in all directions, penetrating deep into the hearts of the many disciples. This made them feel some fear. You clown. I'll show you the true Supreme Dragon Fist. Shao Chen snorted coldly. This time, he did not use resentment to drive the Supreme Dragon Fist. Instead, he used killing chi to drive the Supreme Dragon Fist. Supreme Dragon Fist, raging at the unfair heaven. At this moment, boundless killing chi merged with the lofty aspirations in Xiao Chen's heart. He drove his emotions to the limit, and an ancient dragon roar rang out in Xiao Chen's body like a bell ringing. The sound of the bell was long and drawn out. The dragon roar reverberated in the air, long and unending. This was killing chi, rage, and the inextinguishable lofty aspirations and pride in Xiao Chen's heart. This punch raged at the unfair heaven, venting the dissatisfaction in his heart. He could not accept this evil dragon that ruled the world. He could not accept that Ancestor Dragon City's old man treated him as a spy with just a few words. He could not accept that white-bearded old man doubting the authenticity of his dragon race bloodline. Xiao Chen's chi and blood surged. This punch also activated the pride of the blue dragon bloodline in Xiao Chen's body. Unbeknownst to Xiao Chen, this pride silently merged with the heaven dragon's mysteries in his body. Bang! Two terrifying fists collided with each other in an instant. A resplendent light appeared amid a loud sound. Qin Mu, who carried the vast and boundless dragon might of a royal emperor's bloodline, pressed down, wanting to crush Xiao Chen on the spot and trample on him. Pu Si. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood, dyeing his clothes red. However, Xiao Chen did not show any panic or fear on his face. He shouted, and his killing chi gathered again. Crack. Qin Mu was somewhat shocked to discover that the Emperor Dragon's dragon might supporting him slowly cracked under the assault of this punch. Before Qin Mu could react, the overwhelming killing chi behind Xiao Chen surged over like waves. Bang! 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 In the end, Qin Mu could not block the dragon might on his body. It shattered under the wave after wave of fist light. Qin Mu vomited a mouthful of blood, and his dragon might vanished. Xiao Chen's punch knocked him into the air. All the bones in Qin Mu's body shattered, and his internal organs were destroyed. His complexion paled as his life force drained continuously. Supreme Dragon Fist, ruling the surroundings. Xiao Chen punched again in one go. The fist light gathered into a war banner. The dragon might spreading out in the surroundings continuously infused into the war banner. No! Several Golden Dragon Palace disciples cried out hoarsely. The third palace master paled in fright. At this speed, he could not save Qin Mu in time. It looked like this sure-kill punch would end Qin Mu. The white-bearded old man on the light steps shouted coldly. Then he ferociously grabbed the war banner, which contained Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy, will of soul, and boundless killing chi. Crack! The war banner shattered, and Xiao Chen's mind and soul were injured. He vomited a mouthful of blood as he flew to the ground. The white-bearded old man casually flung his arm and said coldly, "The Heaven Dragon Palace's Xiao Chen faked his identity and snuck into the empire. He offended his superiors and offended this lord. Furthermore, he tried to murder the Golden Dragon Palace's Qin Mu. He deserves 10,000 deaths for his crimes. Capture him and await punishment." With the white-bearded old man's command, many dragon race experts immediately appeared from all directions, chasing after Xiao Chen. No one expected Lord Feng to personally attack Xiao Chen and even accuse him of so many crimes. With this, Xiao Chen was finished. Damn it! What dog's hit Ancestor Dragon City is this? It was clearly this Qin Mu who wanted to kill Xiao Chen, alright? Without any evidence, he labeled Xiao Chen as a spy. This is simply despicable. Anyone who wants to take down Xiao Chen will have to go through me, Murong Yen. The Red Dragon Palace's Murong Yen could no longer endure it. Now that he saw Lord Feng personally injure Xiao Chen, he completely erupted. He ignored the Red Dragon Palace elder's attempts to stop him and soared into the air, instantly clashing with the dragon race experts flying over from all directions. Protect junior brother Xiao Chen. Even Murong Yen made a move. How could the many Heaven Dragon Palace disciples have any fear? They only relied on their hearts and made decisions that they normally would not dare to make. They stood together with the various dragon race guards. The originally somewhat chaotic scene instantly descended into absolute chaos. The dragon race experts who came to capture Xiao Chen on Lord Feng's command were all blocked. Amidst the chaos, A gentle breeze blew. Let's go. Sidu Changfeng weaved through the chaotic crowd and supported Xiao Qin, who was injured by Lord Feng, on his shoulder. Then he quickly left. On the light steps, the white-bearded old man showed an enraged expression. He looked around and instantly locked on to Sidu Changfeng and Xiao Qin, who wanted to take advantage of the chaos to flee. To think that you want to flee under my nose. You are seeking death. However, just as the white-bearded old man was about to make a move, a small world made of flames suddenly appeared before him. The small world expanded continuously, turning into a complete nation. Then, it smashed down on the group of people on the light steps. The appearance of the nation of flames completely blocked the white-bearded old man's vision. Aside from this nation, there was nothing else. Firmament's rage. Yexin, you can't resist making a move as well? The white-bearded old man showed a cold expression. He immediately recognized this move. This was the famous consummate technique that the Heaven Dragon Palace's first palace master, Yexin, used to sweep through the northern region, Firmament's Rage. This Firmament's Rage was much mightier than the one that Xiao Qin executed. It was complete and looked flawless, like a real world. The raging flames of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon filled the sky. However, a nation of flames flew over, temporarily separating them from reality. The first palace master slowly appeared in the nation of flames. Then he looked at the white-bearded old man and said, "My apologies, Lord Feng. I have never disobeyed Milord's orders in my life, but this time, since he does not want to go to Ancestor Dragon City to verify his bloodline and clear his name, Milord, just let him go. Sir, just let him go. No matter what his motives are, just let him go." The white-bearded old man was very old. When the first palace master was young, he was already a senior expert of Ancestor Dragon City. The white-bearded old man possessed extremely terrifying strength. In terms of friendship, he had even saved the first palace master's life. You think that you can stop me? It has not started yet. How can I give up? If I don't try, who knows? Chapter 2020. The first palace master made a move, while the white-bearded old man and the other Ancestor Dragon City experts from Lanzhou attacked. The entire place turned chaotic. The palace masters of the various outer palaces were shocked by the Heaven Dragon Palace master's attack, all of them stunned. This Exin is crazy. To think that he dares to attack Lord Feng. What kind of status does Lord Feng have? He is the Dragon's Gate's supreme elder. Does he want to die? Why is this fellow doing this? The first palace master's attack shocked everyone. It was also this moment that gave Sidu Changfeng a small opportunity. Sidu Changfeng turned into a shadow and quickly left with Xiao Qin. Boom, boom, boom. Loud sounds rang out in the air. The shock waves from Exion's and Lord Feng's fight spread out. Countless horrifying fireballs fell from the sky, looking like blazing suns descending. In an instant, no one was able to avoid this storm. Many of the outer palace's disciples and elders could not dodge in time and got injured on the spot. Miserable cries rang out continuously. The various palace masters recovered from their shock and quickly made a move to protect their outer palace's disciples. Quickly retreat. Quickly retreat. We can't stay here anymore. Quickly leave. The horrifying shock waves from the fight between two sovereign emperors were easy to imagine. Even a sovereign personage would find it hard to protect themselves. The various factions in Divine Dragon City were all shocked. Not knowing what was going on, countless experts soared into the air and gazed into the distance. Exin is fighting with Ancestor Dragon City's elders? Is he trying to rebel? Exin is one of the few peak experts of the mixed blood dragon bloodline. Why is he making a move? Today seems to be a major day for the competition between the 7 outer palaces. This is a major matter. It has been many years since such a huge storm has happened in the Divine Dragon Empire. Furthermore, it is in Divine Dragon City. Many of the factions outside the Divine Dragon Empire could not understand what was going on. They felt very confused, not knowing what was going on. When First Palace Master Exin made a move, the storm caused by Xiao Qin immediately spiraled out of control. This caused the entire Divine Dragon City to be shaken. There were many factions with good and bad mixed in. The strong ones all rushed over immediately. They needed to figure out what was going on for such a major matter. Amid the chaos, Situ Changfeng supported Xiao Chen and left the center of the chaos. Xiao Chen said weakly, "Thank you, Situ. Let me go. I will walk by myself." With the dragon race's accumulations in Divine Dragon City and the hidden factions, if they searched for Xiao Chen with all their might, the dragon race would not be able to defeat Xiao Chen. It was only a matter of time before they caught him. However, now that the first palace master had suddenly made a move, the situation had spiraled out of control and he had become the center of the whirlpool. It attracted a lot of firepower and attention for Xiao Chen, giving him a chance of survival. It was already sufficient for Situ Changfeng to help him at the crucial moment. If he continued to get entangled, he would sink even deeper, and the trouble in the future would only be greater. Situ Changfeng said, "Don't speak. You are not familiar with this Divine Dragon City at all. Besides, the city is definitely sealed now. No matter how capable you are, you won't be able to get out." Ignoring Xiao Chen's advice, Situ Changfeng brought Xiao Chen to a remote street and stopped. He looked down at the sky, deep in thought. Then he asked somewhat anxiously, "Why is he not here yet?" Just then, a 3-star heaven-suspending war chariot appeared in the sky. "Get in." The carriage door opened, and the Golden Dragon Palace's Wei Hongfei appeared. Situ Changfeng seemed to have been prepared and had been waiting for a long time. Without saying anything, Situ Changfeng flew into the heaven-suspending war chariot with Xiao Chen. Aside from Wei Hongfei, there was another person in the war chariot, the Green Dragon Palace's Duan Fei. "Brother Duan, please take a look at Xiao Chen's injuries," Situ Changfeng said worriedly as he handed Xiao Chen to Duan Fei. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. He looked around. Everything seemed to have been prepared. Wei Hongfei noticed Xiao Chen's confusion. He said, "When that Lord Feng said that your identity was fake, I knew that things were bad, so I left with Duan Fei in advance. I will help you prepare a path of retreat. Leave Situ Yi and Murong Yen behind to provide support. Originally, I had some other methods, but this is all I can do for the time being." "Why did you help me?" "My identity is fake and my bloodline is still uncertain," Xiao Chen said softly. Situ Hongfei and the others exchanged looks. Then Wei Hongfei said, "After all, we have gone through life and death together. I don't believe that you are a spy. Your dragon race bloodline is definitely real. Even if the whole world doesn't believe you, us brothers will believe you." Xiao Chen was touched and didn't know what to say. Since ancient times, there were many who added flowers to embroidery, but few who provided timely help. To be able to wait for a group of friends to stand up for him in his most difficult time was truly worth it. "Brother Wei, Xiao Chen's main problem is that his soul has been injured. It will be hard for him to recover in a short period of time. I've already done my best to heal my fleshly body. With the help of Xiao Chen's fleshly body, I'll be able to recover soon." Duan Fei said with a frown as he treated Xiao Chen. Wei Hongfei said, "We can only do that for now." The heaven-suspending war chariot flew around the city at an extremely fast speed. The shock waves from the fight between the first palace master and Lord Feng had already spread to the entire Divine Dragon City. The fight between the two sovereign emperors stirred up a huge commotion in the ancient city. The entire city turned chaotic. Many people took advantage of the situation, causing chaos everywhere. The city lord's residence's royal guard legion moved out urgently. When the heaven-suspending war chariot arrived above the city gates, the dragon race cultivators at the city gates had already sealed the city. Who knew how many restrictions were laid at the checkpoints? Unless a sovereign emperor came, one could not barge in. "The war chariot in front, please stop. Divine Dragon City has already been sealed. No one is allowed to go out." When the voice reached the heaven-suspending war chariot, the group showed somewhat nervous expressions. Actually, these city guards did not know what exactly happened. They only knew that the city was in chaos, and the sovereign emperors were fighting. According to military rules, they had to seal the city immediately. There was no need to wait for orders from the higher-ups. Don't panic. Wei Hongfei showed a calm expression as he walked out of the heavens suspending war chariot. Then, he took out a medallion and asked, "Even the Wei clan's people cannot go out?" When the dragon race cultivators saw the medallion, they were startled. The leader hesitated for a while. After verifying the medallion's authenticity, he felt somewhat conflicted. After a while, he said, "Since you are the Wei clan's people, naturally, you can pass. Let's go." "Many thanks." Wei Hongfei heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Then, he returned to the heavens suspending war chariot. When the restrictions opened, they rushed out of the city. The leader of the city guards frowned slightly. Then he said sullenly, "Record this. Although we cannot offend the Wei clan's people, he is the first person to successfully leave the city." "Milord, why didn't you check the war chariot earlier?" "Check what? I don't know what happened. Even now, there is no concrete news. The major characters are probably busy dealing with the Sovereign Emperor's fight. Don't bother about that. Just record the time he left the city." Wei Hongfei left the city so easily. Xiao Chen felt somewhat shocked. "So, you should listen to me, right? Within the Golden Dragon race, aside from the royal clan, the strongest faction is the Wei clan. With Brother Wei making a move, it should be possible to send Brother Xiao out of the city." Sidu Changfeng smiled faintly. Then, he gave Xiao Chen an explanation. Xiao Chen now understood. No wonder the city guards gave him so much face. This divine dragon city was controlled by the Golden Dragon bloodline. The Golden Dragon bloodline held the highest status in the empire in the first place. With Wei Hongfei's identity, it would not be difficult for him to send Xiao Chen out before the matter was exposed. Xiao Chen's fortunate escape from the city looked like a coincidence. In reality, it was all because of his friend's help. The Heaven Dragon Palace disciples had not fought with the Dragon Race guards to stir up the situation. The first palace master had not suddenly made a move and caused the situation to escalate beyond control. Without Wei Hongfei's advice and plans, it would have been impossible for Xiao Chen to leave the city. Xiao Chen felt somewhat surprised. After he got into trouble, so many people came to help him. Given the Dragon's Gate's strength, after the situation was settled, they would pursue the matter. These people who helped Xiao Chen would not be able to avoid getting into trouble. With this thought, Xiao Chen could not help feeling guilty. "Brother Xiao, let's go quickly. We can only send you out of the city. You will have to rely on yourself for the rest," Wei Hongfei said calmly as he looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had many things he wanted to say, but he did not know how to express himself. He was not a person who was good at expressing himself. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks. I will never forget today's kindness. Take care." Xiao Chen knew that the situation was urgent. He reluctantly glanced at the Dragon City, then at Wei Hongfei and the other two. Then he decisively turned and left. As Wei Hongfei and the other two watched Xiao Chen leave, they showed somewhat complicated expressions, showing pity in their eyes. "How unfortunate. I thought that the few of us could enter Ancestor Dragon City together and roam the northern region together, making a name for ourselves in the dragon race." Wei Hongfei sighed, melancholy filling his face. "Soon, the Blood Dragon Guards will make a move. The few of us will disguise ourselves as Brother Xiao Chen and help divert some of his attention. This is all we can do." "We can only do this much," Sidu Changfeng said after withdrawing his gaze. "The Blood Dragon Guards." At the mention of the Blood Dragon Guards, the three's expressions turned somewhat grave. This was a faction hidden in the darkness of the Divine Dragon Empire. This was an existence that inspired fear in everyone. After fleeing Divine Dragon City, Xiao Chen was far from safe. He would only be truly safe if he could avoid the Blood Dragon Guard's eyes and leave the Divine Dragon Empire. Chapter 2021. In a continuous mountain range outside Divine Dragon City, Xiao Chen stood on one of the unremarkable peaks. When he looked back, he remained silent. He had not expected the competition between the 7 outer palaces to end like this. He felt somewhat wronged, somewhat helpless, but mostly guilty. The first palace master took the initiative to fight with Ancestor Dragon City's elders for him. His brothers and friends did not hesitate to oppose Ancestor Dragon City to protect him. After causing such a huge commotion, they would definitely be punished in the end. Big Brother Xiao, are we not leaving? Sang came out of the Divine Universe Steel and looked at Xiao Chen with some worry. Sang was very worried about Xiao Chen's current situation. He knew that Xiao Chen blamed himself and would not be able to calm down for now. Was I too rash? At worst, I'll just make a trip to Ancestor Dragon City. Isn't that just exposing my blue dragon bloodline? Xiao Chen said softly as he looked into the distance. Xiao Chen had always been swift and decisive when doing things, rarely regretting them. However, he had not expected to drag in so many people this time. In reality, Xiao Chen could not be blamed for many things. It was trouble that sought him out, not that he took the initiative to create trouble. Sidu Changfeng and the others charged out of their own volition. It was just like how Xiao Chen risked his life to save Sidu Changfeng without hesitation in desolate God Valley. All he could do was follow his heart. However, no matter how resolute a heart was, there would be a weak and soft side. There would always be heartache that was hard to control. On this day, Xiao Chen truly felt helpless after his dream shattered in Divine Dragon City. The land of shattered dreams. Broken dreams. Broken heart. 5 years of wandering, 5 years of heartache. He was just one step away from seeing Lu Riyue. When Murong Yen attacked in rage and the Heaven Dragon Palace disciples attacked, cracks appeared in that proud and stubborn heart that would never give up. Cracks appeared in that proud and stubborn heart that would never give up, a broken heart that was hard to come by. After the shocking battle during the Great Tribulation of the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen had not felt such emotions for many years already. Let's go. Xiao Chen could not bear to watch. He could not bear to look at the land of shattered dreams. Where to next? Are we leaving the Divine Dragon Empire? Sang asked. Recuperate first. 3 days later. The commotion in Divine Dragon City slowly calmed down. After the initial commotion, people finally figured out the truth. No one expected the commotion that resulted in 2 horrifying sovereign emperors fighting in Divine Dragon City. It was actually caused by an inconspicuous Outer Palace disciple. Xiao Chen, a disciple who only had some fame in the Outer Palaces, instantly swept through the entire Divine Dragon Empire. Whether it was the Imperial Emperor or Star Lord Cloud Sea, they all knew of this person. In the competition between the 7 palaces, Qin Mu, who had suppressed the Qin family's twin star, had been discovered to be a fake. This had caused a huge commotion. What was even more shocking was that the Blue Dragon Palace's Sidu Changfeng, the Golden Dragon Palace's Wei Hongfei, all the Heaven-class core disciples of the Heaven Dragon Palace stepped forward for such a person. As the Heaven Dragon Palace's first palace master, Yun did not hesitate to fight with Ancestor Dragon City's Supreme Elder. Everything was to send this person out of Divine Dragon City. The story was too bizarre, but it was usually the bizarre that would be praised by people. As time went by, people dug up Xiao Chen's past deeds of chopping down Rakshasa Tian's clone and rescuing the Flame Dragon Legion alone. This was even more shocking and inconceivable. 7 days later, in a small tea house by the roadside in the ancient dragon city where the White Dragon Palace was, some people sat in a rather desolate tea house, drinking tea and chatting. To think that this Xiao Chen has not been caught yet. This is strange. It has already been 7 days, but we have not even seen a shadow of him. This is really ridiculous. The Blood Dragon Guards have always been known for their efficiency. To think that they could not find any clues at all. This is indeed strange. I heard that there was something even more bizarre. There was a dragon race expert skilled in divination who tried to divine Xiao Chen's position. In the end, all of them drained their soul energy, vomited blood, and fainted. When they woke up, they did not say a word. No one dared to divine where this Xiao Chen was anymore. That is an absolute genius who successfully practiced the Supreme Dragon Fist. There will always be some exceptions. Speaking of the Supreme Dragon Fist, have you heard of it? I heard that the Qin clan's twin stars already brought out the limits of the Emperor Dragon Fist. However, that Xiao Chen still defeated them. How come I haven't heard of it? The Emperor Dragon Fist has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. It is the top offensive martial technique of the dragon race, known as the King of Fist techniques. Even in the entire Central Great Realm, fist techniques that can compare to it are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Who could have expected that it would lose to the Supreme Dragon Fist? A fortune-teller said that the Golden Dragon Palace's luck is already affected. The Golden Dragon bloodline has already sent out the Dragon Protecting Squad. The order is to kill Xiao Chen on the spot. The Golden Dragon Palace's group of bastards is really ruthless. However, thinking about it, it makes sense. This Xiao Chen is already a threat to their ruling position. If it were me, I would have killed him before there were any signs. In a corner of the tea house, a cloaked figure put down his teacup, left behind some spirit jades, and stood up to leave. The person under the black cloak was Xiao Chen. After 10 days, Xiao Chen's injuries had healed. After he recovered, he carefully made his way to this place. The White Dragon Palace did not put much effort into pursuing Xiao Chen. They did not even search for suspicious people. However, Xiao Chen did not lower his guard. When he came to investigate, he only came to this desolate tea house. He did not even go to the more bustling inns. However, there was not much useful information. It was all outdated information. Xiao Chen already knew about this 3 days ago. According to the rumors, there were Situ Changfeng, Murong Yen, and the many disciples of the Heaven Dragon Palace. Surprisingly, they were not severely punished. They were only disqualified from entering Ancestor Dragon City for 1 year. After that, the various outer palaces dealt with them on their own. This was already the best result. It looked like Ancestor Dragon City still had some boldness and did not make things difficult for these disciples. Xiao Chen's only worry was the first palace master. Even now, there had been no news of the first palace master. 1 hour later, Xiao Chen stopped at the periphery of the mountain range where the White Dragon Palace was. He had already circled the entire White Dragon Palace. The formations layered over each other. If one tried to barge in, one would just be seeking death. Xiao Chen asked, "Sang, do you have a way?" "There's no problem. One of their formations uses the power of the mountains, using everything as a formation. I can communicate with some ancient trees and use that to make a breakthrough. If we are careful, we can enter." "All right." After putting on the Death God mask, Xiao Chen successfully infiltrated the place after some effort. The Death God mask had the ability to isolate all auras. Even a sovereign emperor would find it hard to detect. For the past 10 days, Xiao Chen had been able to prevent the various factions from tracking him largely because of the Death God mask. When necessary, the Death God mask could even merge itself into the void to avoid detection. The White Dragon Palace was extremely vast. When Xiao Chen silently barged in at night, he did not attract any attention. Following the route in his memory, Xiao Chen carefully made his way to Lu Ruyun's residence. By relying on the Death God mask to isolate his aura, Xiao Chen evaded the many guards. When the full moon rose, Xiao Chen finally arrived at the side of the lake between the towering mountains and precipitous ridges. The lake water was as clear as before. White mist seeped out of the lake's surface at night, making it look even colder when illuminated by the moonlight. An exquisite pavilion shrouded in white mist stood in the center of the lake, appearing indistinct at a glance. Mountains surrounded the surroundings, and the lake water looked like a painting. The distant mountain ranges rose and fell. The lake water looked like jade amid the undulating mountain ranges, looking like a flawless piece of unpolished jade embedded in the mountains. As Xiao Chen stood at the lake's edge, he saw that the picturesque lake was incredibly long and narrow, extending out between 2 mountain ranges. This small lake actually gave off the feeling of a vast sea, vast and unfathomable. As for the pavilion in the center of the lake, Xiao Chen peered through the mist. Dragons and jade phoenixes were carved in the pavilion, looking pure white. The pavilion flickered with a crystalline light, reflecting the rippling, jade-green surface of the lake. "I've arrived," Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he stared at the pavilion. Lu Ruyue's residence in the White Dragon Palace was Xiao Chen's destination. Although he could not go to Ancestor Dragon City, Xiao Chen had not forgotten his initial purpose in coming to the Divine Dragon Empire. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he flew over silently. His figure rose and fell a few times on the lake's surface. Then, he gently drifted down like a swallow and landed on the pavilion's roof. Xiao Chen did not enter rashly, as there were people inside. Inside the pavilion, Lu Ruyun held a painting with only Xiao Chen's silhouette. She said hatefully, "Damn Xiao Chen. Damn Xiao Chen. We agreed to go to Ancestor Dragon City together. Why did you cause such a huge commotion? It is just a movement technique. You could have just told me, and I would have gotten my father to do it for you. It would have been easy. You bastard. You left without a conscience. You should have at least reported that you were safe. I'll stab you to death. I'll stab you to death." As the valiant and formidable-looking Lu Ruyun spoke, her eyes turned somewhat moist. This girl did not know why she felt disappointed. She just felt her nose turn sour. Then, she behaved like a child, poking many holes in the painting. Xiao Chen looked at the messy painting on the ground. All of them had similar holes. It was clear that this was not her first day here. Lu Ruyun only left in embarrassment when it was late at night. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. After Lu Ruyue was far away, he silently entered the pavilion. Lu Ruyun once said that as long as Lu Ruyue had time, she would come back to stay for a while. Xiao Chen did not know when exactly, but this was where Lu Ruyue stayed in the White Dragon Palace. He waited patiently. Perhaps he might get a chance to meet Lu Ruyue before he left. He could only leave such an opportunity to heaven and try his luck. Xiao Chen did not hold much hope. Time passed quietly. Soon 1 month passed. Xiao Chen already felt some despair. During this time, Sang urged him several times to leave this place quickly. There were many experts in the White Dragon Palace. Once discovered, only death awaited him. "Big brother Xiao Chen, we really have to go. Right now, the most important thing is to leave the Divine Dragon Empire. We really cannot remain in this White Dragon Palace." Sang's voice came from the Divine Universe Steel again. Xiao Chen had already waited for many days. He had promised Sang to leave several times, but he could not help staying. Xiao Chen sighed softly, "Let's leave after tonight." Xiao Chen was destined not to see Lu Ruyue again. Once he left, he did not know when he could see Lu Ruyue again. Someone is approaching. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen and Sang both sensed someone slowly floating over from the lake. It was not Lu Ruyun. In the past month, Lu Ruyun had come several times. Xiao Chen and Sang were already very familiar with her aura. It's her. Chapter 2022. Someone was indeed here. The lake rippled under the night sky. A girl wearing simple clothes that could not hide her outstanding charm arrived before the pavilion amid the hazy white fog. She pushed the door open and entered. She went straight to the study and saw the mess on the floor. She frowned slightly and smiled softly. "This girl is causing trouble in my room again." Clearly, she knew that Lu Ruyun was the cause of all this. Aside from Lu Ruyun, no one else could enter the pavilion in the center of the lake. Lu Ruyun showed a relaxed expression and did not notice that someone was leaning against the roof beam, watching her. The only exposed eyes under the mask had lost their previous clarity, appearing somewhat sluggish. It really is her. Qingyun Peak's Lu Ruyue, the girl who once made Xiao Chen reveal his heart at the top of a 30-kilometer-tall peak and love her. After not seeing her for so many years, she had changed a lot. The only thing that did not change was her charm, which remained the same. She was exactly the same as in Xiao Chen's memories. However, she now had an air of nobility and holiness that others could not bear to blaspheme. Lu Ruyue clearly had many charms, but she did not give off the aura of a prostitute. Instead, she was filled with contradictions and temptation. No wonder everyone in the Divine Dragon Empire knew about the White Dragon Holy Daughter. Who could compare to her charm? She is too reckless. I really have to scold her. Lu Ruyun looked at the painting and the gaps of various sizes, appearing somewhat angry. As she looked at the blank painting with only a silhouette, she revealed a trace of gentleness and confusion on her face. Why is it that when I see only a silhouette, my heart relaxes? However, I cannot remember who he is. Who is it? Just at this moment, a strange sound startled Lu Ryue. It turned out that Lu Ryue could not help falling from the roof beam. Lu Ryue reacted very quickly. With a flip of her hand, she threw a palm strike. Given her sovereign personage cultivation, if this palm strike struck Xiaochen, he would suffer. Whoosh! Xiaochen suddenly startled awake. His figure flashed as he dodged the palm strike and flew out of the window. How bold of you! You even dare to barge into my room. A murderous intent flashed in Lu Ryue's eyes. A small saber appeared in her hand as she gave chase like a beam of flowing light. Despite moving later, Lu Ryue arrived first, landing in front of Xiaochen and blocking his path. Clang! Without any hesitation, Zhang Xian drew the short saber in his hand, and a cold killing intent immediately spread out. The temperature of the lake plummeted. The blade of the saber shone with a piercingly cold light, reflecting the gentle moonlight. A cool breeze blew in the surroundings, making it seem like willow leaves drifting about. The instant Lu Ryue drew her saber, her aura merged with the surrounding mountains and rivers. The blade was locked onto Xiaochen. Apart from taking the blow head-on, there was no way to avoid it. Under the illumination of the full moon in the vast night, the clear surface of the lake was filled with cold fog. The saber light flying over was cold and desolate. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Xiaochen had no idea. Regardless of the reason, Xiaochen could not attack the person in front of him. The promise he made in this life would never be erased. Like a willow leaf, it flew along with the saber and was less than 30 centimeters away from him. Xiaochen took off the Grim Reaper mask on his face. Under the gentle moonlight, this was a delicate and handsome face. It didn't have the magnificence of jade, nor did it have the arrogance of nobility. It was a face with delicate features and a pair of clear and bright eyes under the illumination of the moonlight. See eye. The instant Xiaochen removed the mask, Lu Ryue's heart skipped a beat. It was like a conditioned reflex as she forcefully pulled back her attack. The fatal saber stopped when it was less than 2 centimeters away from Xiaochen. Their eyes met, and Lu Ryue immediately felt distracted. While she was at a loss, she felt that the person before her was incredibly familiar, exceptionally intimate. White fog spread out in all directions, and the lake reflected the bright moon in the sky. As the two stood on the peaceful lake, it was like they were standing on a bright moon. The lake was empty, and only the 2 full moons in the sky and the man and woman in white remained in this world. Xiaochen revealed a smile on his face. It had been so many years. Even if the other party lost her memories, she could not erase the feelings of the past. At this moment, Xiaochen felt relieved. Many of his grievances were swept away. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Lu Ryue's wrist, which she used to draw her saber, and slowly moved it away. Then, he bent over and gently kissed the back of her hand. Lu Ryue immediately revealed extreme shock on her face. She had an incredulous expression. She blushed like fire. You scoundrel! Bang! Lu Ryue threw a palm strike with her left hand at lightning speed and struck Xiaochen's shoulder. Immediately, Xiaochen flew back like a sandbag. Xiaochen landed on the water and splashed up a large amount of water. He only managed to stand firm after flying a long distance. Xiaochen wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips and looked at Lu Ryue in front. His smile did not diminish. Lu Ryue's expression returned to normal as she asked Xiaochen coldly, "Who are you?" The murderous intent on her face no longer existed. Although this was the first time Lu Ryue met the person before her, she felt a sense of familiarity. There was no sense of unfamiliarity at all. This was the first time Lu Ryue had experienced something like this in her life. She felt somewhat flustered, but she could only maintain a cold expression and pretend to be calm. Just as Xiaochen was about to answer, a strong aura rushed over from the distance. Xiaochen's expression changed slightly. He was very familiar with this aura. It was the White Dragon King. Xiaochen glanced at Lu Ryue and said, "We will meet again. The next time we meet, I will tell you who I am." Right after Xiaochen spoke, he turned and left. Whoosh! Right after Xiaochen left, the White Dragon King slowly descended. As the White Dragon King watched Xiaochen leave, he felt astonished. This fellow is rather courageous. All the major factions of the Divine Dragon Empire are looking for him, yet he still dares to come to the White Dragon Palace. Adoptive father, do you know this person? Lu Riyue asked as she looked at the White Dragon King. When Xiaochen left, his usual calm immediately gave her some clues from the White Dragon King's face. If Xiaochen were here, he would definitely feel suspicious about how Lu Riyue addressed him. The White Dragon King's heart immediately tightened. This girl is still as sharp as before. She noticed the slightest change in his expression. What's going on? A figure flew over from the lake. It was Lu Riyue. The White Dragon King immediately felt a headache coming. Another problem. Just as he was about to leave, Lu Riyue pestered him. Quickly speak. Quickly speak. What's going on? I feel like someone was here. Lu Riyue said, indeed, someone was here. He wore white clothes and was young. He seemed to be of a mixed-blood dragon bloodline. Xiaochen. It's Xiaochen. Father, what did you do to him? Don't hand him over to Ancestor Dragon City. Lu Riyue immediately guessed who it was. Then, she gave the White Dragon King a pitiful look. The White Dragon King sighed in his heart. Then, he said helplessly, it was indeed him. However, I already let him go and did not make things difficult for him. Why didn't you keep him here? Lu Riyue immediately retorted angrily. The White Dragon King smiled embarrassedly. I'm really in the wrong now. It was wrong to keep him here, but it was wrong not to keep him here either. Xiaochen? The Heaven Dragon Palace's Xiaochen, who caused a series of commotion recently and successfully practiced the Supreme Dragon Fist. To think that he dares to remain in the Divine Dragon Empire. The Golden Dragon Palace commissioned Ancestor Dragon City to issue a wanted order. However, Lu Riyue felt incredibly shocked, clearly surprised. Unexpectedly, this person whom she felt so close to had such an identity. Isn't that very dangerous? Father, please save him, Lu Riyue said worriedly. The White Dragon King showed a grave expression as he sighed softly. This trouble is worse than you imagine. Actually, he did not offend Ancestor Dragon City. He offended the Golden Dragon Palace. Back then, when news of him successfully practicing the Supreme Dragon Fist spread, the Golden Dragon Palace prepared to make a move against him. This time, the Supreme Dragon Fist suppressed the Emperor Dragon Fist, making the Golden Dragon Palace nervous. What is the difference between offending Ancestor Dragon City and the Golden Dragon Palace? Lu Riyue felt confused, not understanding. Lu Riyue entered deep thought. Then she said softly, if he offends Ancestor Dragon City, everything will be handled according to the rules. At the very least, he will not die. After investigating the truth, if he is not a spy and there is nothing suspicious about his identity, Ancestor Dragon City might even let bygones be bygones and nurture him. If he offends the Golden Dragon Palace, it will be problematic. If the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor rages, how can anyone survive? Father, I don't care. You have to save him. When Lu Riyue heard that, her expression immediately turned unsightly. Only now did she realize the severity of the matter. Lu Riyue looked at the White Dragon King and said, Adoptive father, this person can be saved. The other Dragon Kings probably do not want him to die. If he lives, he will make the Golden Dragon Palace's people nervous. It might even affect the fight to become the Dragon Emperor. What made the Golden Dragon bloodline nervous was not Xiaochen but Xiaochen's Supreme Dragon Fist. The influence that this fist technique had back then was simply too heaven-defying. The previous generation Heaven Dragon nearly used the Supreme Dragon Fist to change the world. It would be a lie to say that the Qin clan, the royal clan of the Golden Dragon bloodline, was not nervous. The White Dragon King observed Lu Riyue's expression. It looked like this Xiaochen did not say anything strange to Lu Riyue, forcefully evoking her memories. He was rather smart. I'll think about this matter. The two of you should not interfere, especially you. Do you hear me? The White Dragon King pointed at Lu Riyue and threatened her before leaving. Now, only Lu Riyue and Lu Ruyun remained on the lake. Lu Riyue smiled and said, Elder sister, your words are still the most effective. Based on father's appearance, he probably agreed. Lu Rue smiled faintly and said, "It's hard to say. The things involved are much more complicated than you imagine. At adoptive father's level, no matter what decision he makes, he will not be affected by emotions. He will only make decisions related to benefits. Of course, you are an exception." "Is that so? Why do I feel that he does not care about me at all? He locked me up in the White Dragon Palace for many years, not letting me out," Lu Rue said in dissatisfaction. Chapter 2023. Are you done? Kacha. On this day, when night was about to fall, Xiaochen got up from the barren mountain where he was cultivating. As long as an aristocratic family had a divine physique, it was a sign of prosperity. As long as his god body grew normally, he could be invincible and achieve an earth-shaking undertaking. This person was a peak consummation holy venerate, only half a step away from sovereign personage. This person was a Dragon's Gate Inner Palace disciple. "Your Highness, there's nothing in the south either." In this world of light, the fresh blood was particularly eye-catching. It was like a blood-colored datura flower blossoming in Xiao Chen's palm. If he was strong enough, he wouldn't need to worry so much. If he was strong enough, he wouldn't need his friends to risk their lives to save him. "I am Qin Feng, an Inner Palace disciple of the Dragon's Gate. Sorry for disturbing your cultivation. We do not have any ill intentions. As long as you remove your mask and reveal your identity, we will leave." Unlike now, when he had to sneak around even when he was leaving. Sooner or later, he would return in a dignified and above-board manner. A handsome man in a purplish-golden dragon robe slowly appeared in the forest with a regal aura emanating from his body. As the Golden Dragon Palace narrowed down the scope, it started to target people with suspicious characteristics. Now that his worries were gone, Xiaochen set out on his journey. Wearing the death god mask, he hurried through the night. All of a sudden, Qin Feng's countenance changed. There seemed to be an accident happening below. After 2 months of bitter cultivation, Xiaochen continuously improved his divine dragon body tempering art, heading for peak consummation of the 6th layer. It was called the divine body. Don't flatter me. I'm just a pawn. It was time to leave the Divine Dragon Empire. In the Divine Dragon Empire, there was naturally only one person who could be addressed as the Crown Prince. Just at this moment, dragon roars resounded in the surroundings. Figures continuously gathered in the air towards the desolate mountain. He was very sure that the other party had not confirmed his identity and was only guessing and suspecting him. During the day, Xiaochen would find a quiet place to cultivate the divine dragon body tempering art. At night, he would wear the death god mask and travel. Space was in chaos. Before the two of them could do anything, they were pulled into the world within Xiaochen's palm. Looking at the corpses of the Dragon Protection Squad members on the ground, Zhang Xian searched the area and fell deep in thought. The Golden Dragon Palace's wise men deduced that Xiaochen had a treasure that could hide his aura. The Golden Dragon Palace's wise man deduced that Xiaochen had a treasure that could hide his aura. It could isolate all auras and even prevent him from being divined. Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. In the end, he was a Dragon's Gate Inner Palace disciple. He was extremely decisive. Exactly how much the Golden Dragon royalty hate Xiaochen to of the Divine Dragon to the Dragon Guards. The true Divine Dragon war body completely changed one's physique, becoming an acquired divine body. All kinds of constitutions had all kinds of incredible effects. Among this group of special constitutions, there were very few that stood out, and even they had to look up to these special constitutions. To this the Qin, to the various physique, Xiao was Long Yun 1 and A to and a Qinis. To the dragon I he. Qin. The of Qin. Demon Xiao, spirit, of to us. Xiao from, Qin of Qin of realm of Qin, and of. To the Golden Dragon Palace's upper echelon, this was practically impossible. To think that it was so difficult to find a person. The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor ordered that we would rather kill the wrong person than let him off. Qin Feng's expression turned grave as he said seriously, "You do not understand what the Supreme Dragon Fist means. All the more, You do not understand what it means for that person to use the Supreme Dragon Fist to defeat the Emperor Dragon Fist. If you do not pay attention to it while it is still a flame, when it becomes an overwhelming flame, you will not be able to extinguish it. That would be a tragedy. Even if that person was not Xiao Chen, he would not be someone to offend. He had an extremely strange temper. Right. Under the mask, Xiao Chen showed a calm expression, not flustered at all. One could easily imagine how horrifying it was. Aside from that, everything was fine. The remaining dragon guards beside Qin Feng said, "Young Master Qin, what do you think the chances of this person being Xiao Chen are?" 2 days later, in this forest, the Death God mask had its own secret technique, Void Shadow. When used with the third layer of Firmament's Rage, Xiao Chen subdued the enemy in one move. Plants grew wildly in the forest below. Unexpectedly, the boundless saber formation formed by 10 odd dragon guards got trapped. Xiao Chen spat out a mouthful of turbid qi and said softly, 150 Cauldron Force. This was a group of strong factions that only obeyed the Golden Dragon royalty. They spread throughout the empire, infiltrating every nook and cranny. As long as Xiao Chen was in the Divine Dragon Empire, this group of people would find him sooner or later. In that case, I can only make things difficult for him. What surprised Xiao Chen was that the ones who appeared the most were not the Blood Dragon guards but cultivators with the Golden Dragon race bloodline. As Xiao Chen guessed, Lu Ryue had indeed lost her memories. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The dragon guards were stunned for a moment before following. When they arrived beside Qin Feng, they were greatly startled. How can it be like this? Whoosh. After 2 months of pursuit, they had found nothing. There were no traces of Xiao Chen in the Divine Dragon Empire. The 5-element divine lightning flowed in Qin Feng's palm. Together with the boundless saber light, it formed a small world in his palm. Xiao Chen slowly understood what the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor meant. In the end, there was only one reason for today's sorry state: he was not strong enough. However, since such people purposely hid their auras, the ones they ran into were not kind. That was enough. Xiao Chen did not have much time to think. He leaped up and flew over. Boundless saber qi spread out, frantically chopping down tree branches and sending shrapnel flying. These people were also prepared to fight at the slightest disagreement. Not long after, more and more people rushed over from all directions. Every time someone arrived, they would kneel down on one knee and respectfully report their arrival. However, it seemed like the faster they chopped, the faster the tree grew. The more they chopped, the taller and larger the tree became. By the time they startled awake, they were already trapped, unable to show themselves. You want to leave now? It's too late. Reaching peak consummation of the Divine Dragon body tempering art was just the beginning. The earlier Divine Dragon war body was a joke. Xiao Chen was not in a rush. The more anxious he was, the easier it would be for things to go wrong. Your Highness the Crown Prince, we have already searched 50 kilometers to the east. There is no sign of young Master Qin Feng's corpse. Being able to see Lu Ryue one last time before leaving the Divine Dragon Empire satisfied Xiao Chen's wish. A light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He desired to become stronger, filled with ambition for his strength. At the foot of the White Dragon Palace, Xiao Chen looked up. He could still see the bright moon, but he could not see the beauty under it. Bang! Let's go. There's no saving these people. They offended someone they should not have offended. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Aside from the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming, there was no one else. At some point in time, Xiao Chen appeared above the two and executed the 3rd layer of Firmament's Rage. The dragon protecting guard shouted, but the saber formation did not fall into chaos. It materialized a huge dragon of saber light radiating boundless killing qi in hot pursuit. Did this matter really startle the Dragon Emperor? An insignificant holy venerate actually angered the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor, to the point that he personally issued a kill order. In this world, there was a small group of people who were born with a special physique, possessing physical bodies that ordinary people could not compare to. Xiao Chen's figure flashed. Having been prepared for this, he easily dodged and headed for the dense forest. Qin Feng's expression turned cold as he waved his hand. The surrounding dragon-protecting guards instantly drew their weapons and formed a saber formation surging with killing qi, surrounding Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin took down these two holy venerates, who could fight with ordinary sovereign personages, in one move. The 10-odd dragon-protecting guards formed a saber formation that materialized saber lights filling the air. They formed a boundless killing formation, wanting to forcefully pull in Xiaoqin. As for the divine dragon body tempering art, it used a cultivation technique and the dragon race bloodline to form an acquired divine body. When Xiaoqin punched, his vital qi immediately surged like a dragon, moving around continuously. The force exploded in the fist light, producing a piercing sound that shook the surroundings. The desolate mountain under Xiaoqin's feet trembled. This allowed the clan to rise up and prosper for tens of thousands of years, perhaps even longer. During the 10 days of hiding, Xiaoqin felt that even wearing the death god mask might not be foolproof. Qin Yun's expression remained calm. However, the other Ancestor Dragon City disciples around him all held their weapons in their hands. Xiaoqin could not use the transportation formation or send out the demon blood vulture. If he relied on his movement technique, he would need some time to leave the Divine Dragon Empire. Sorry, I'm afraid I cannot agree to your request. Qin Feng left on a whim, directly abandoning this group of dragon-protecting guards, not caring about their lives. These are the dragon-protecting guards. Soon, a group of dragon race cultivators gathered in front of Xiaoqin. The leader wore golden dragon robes with Ancestor Dragon City's insignia on his chest. Blood dripped from his robes, looking very alluring. Xiaoqin nodded and said, "I can't remain in this place. I have to leave quickly. When I cultivate this divine dragon body tempering art to peak consummation, I will be able to undergo a rebirth, becoming no different from a true divine body. At that time, not only will my cultivation advance rapidly, but my physical body will also be terrifyingly strong." As the news continued to spread, the purple-gold-robed youth said softly, "This is the first time a royal clan disciple died in the past 2 months. No matter who it is, I will find you." The miserable shrieks in the dense forest below finally stopped. Sang leaped out and arrived beside Xiaoqin. Lightning flashed, saber light flashed, and flesh flew everywhere. Firmament's rage. Xiaoqin's calm voice came from under the mask, containing a trace of cold smile. As Xiaoqin waved his hand, boundless rage spread out in all directions. This person was very polite, further confirming Xiaoqin's guess that the other party had not confirmed his identity. Xiaoqin prepared to attack at any moment. Cultivation techniques that could allow one to cultivate an acquired divine body were extremely rare in the world, few in number. Xiaoqin clenched his fist. The world in his palm no longer had any blind spots. After a while, he let go. Xiaoqin withdrew his gaze and hid his thoughts in the depths of his heart. Then he left under the cover of night. I'll leave it like this, then. Furthermore, there was something strange about the death god mask, which could easily give rise to negative emotions. The disciples of the Dragon Protection Squad and the Qin family had all suffered quite a bit over the past 2 months, so their attitudes had become much more polite. Chapter 2024. As time passed, Xiaoqin approached the Divine Dragon Empire's border. Since killing Qin Feng and the group of dragon-protecting guards, Xiaoqin had encountered more and more attacks. However, this could not be blamed on Xiaoqin. When the huge gears of an empire started moving, the various organizations worked together. Even with the Death God mask, it was only a matter of time before he got targeted. There was no lack of wise people in the empire. Since you disappeared silently, you definitely have a treasure that can isolate your aura. There was no doubt about it. If that person changed directions and investigated these suspicious people one by one, he would eventually find them. This was something that Xiaoqin could guess. However, he could not guess that the Divine Dragon Crown Prince would make a move to hunt him down as well. Condensing Cloud City, this was the last major city at the northern border of the empire, and one could leave the Divine Dragon Empire. This was the route that Xiaoqin took to leave the Divine Dragon Empire. On a grassland 5,000 kilometers away from the city, Xiao Chen wiped the blood off his tyrant saber. The corpses of the dragon-protecting guards littered the grassland. As Xiao Chen approached the border, the intensity of the pursuit increased. Along the way, Xiao Chen changed his path several times, moving without any pattern. However, he would be found soon. It was hard to imagine how difficult the journey would be without the Death God mask. Xiao Chen would probably be found in less than half a month. After passing the city, I should be able to leave the Divine Dragon Empire. Xiao Chen looked into the distance. Although he could not see the silhouette of a city at the limits of his vision, he could sense condensing Cloud City with his spiritual sense. Where do you intend to go next? Sang asked as he looked at Xiao Chen after dealing with the corpses. After leaving the Divine Dragon Empire, he would be free to soar in the vast sky and swim in the vast sea. No matter how vast the world was, there would always be a place for him, Xiao Chen. There were many places that he wanted to go. Xiao Chen even considered returning to the Kunlun realm. However, given Xiao Chen's current cultivation, it would take too much time to go there. He could go to the Yanwu dynasty. His senior brother, Yi Zifeng, was in the Yanwu dynasty's imperial capital and had some friendship with the soaring dragon Marquis. He could also go to the Tianwu dynasty. If he was lucky, he might be able to find news of Chu Chaoyan. Xiao Chen could go to the Golden Crow Empire, the top of the 8 great empires. Ao Jiao and Yellow Feather were both there, so it was not a bad choice. Even if he could not go anywhere, he could leave the Central Great Realm and go to the Forbidden Seas to search for Xiao Sua. The Black Cutlass Pirate Group obtained the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance and did very well in the 7 Great Forbidden Seas. With so many choices, Xiao Chen could not make any. Let's go to the Azure Dragon's old lands first. We can decide what to do after that. Xiao Chen said softly after thinking for a while. Blue Chen long ago? They existed for a very long time. I recall that the Azure Dragon bloodline was the leader of the Divine Dragons during the martial epoch. Sang said softly as he recalled. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. In that case, do you know why the Blue Dragon died? Sang smiled bitterly. My memories come from the propping mulberry tree. The propping mulberry tree was just a bystander. How could it understand these things? Indeed, that was so. Xiao Chen felt somewhat disappointed. He could only rely on himself to find out more. The imprisoned Heaven Dragon in the Starry Heavens Dragon Prison once said that he had been to the Blue Dragon's old land and seemed to know some secrets. However, the Heaven Dragon did not tell Xiao Chen where the Blue Dragon's old land was. Xiao Chen could only search for information about the Blue Dragon's old land in the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. Then he compared it to the current map to see if he could find it. Let's leave this place first. After looking around, Xiao Chen found a desolate place. Then he took out the Divine Universe Steel. Then he entered it together with Sang. Now that he had the Death God mask, he could no longer rest easy. He could only take out his final trump card. Unfortunately, after entering the Divine Universe Steel, he could not control it. Otherwise, he could directly hide in the Divine Universe Steel and use it to travel. There would be no risk at all. The world inside the Divine Universe Steel was chaotic, like an unrepaired wasteland. In the future, if you have sufficient resources, you can actually open up a world in this Divine Universe Steel, Sang said softly as he looked around, finding this somewhat unfortunate. This was a spatial divine tool that many sovereign emperors yearned for. However, Xiao Chen could not make use of it. Xiao Chen appeared somewhat helpless. How could he not know that the Divine Universe Steel was just a slightly larger storage ring in his hands? He could not discover its many wondrous uses. In reality, Xiao Chen had only infused his spiritual sense mark into this Divine Universe Steel. He had not completely refined it. Furthermore, Xiao Chen could not say that it was his. If an expert came and snatched it, they could casually erase his spiritual sense mark, and the treasure would instantly change owners. Apart from the two of them, there was also a 7-colored coiling dragon tree and a sapling of the propping mulberry tree. The 7-colored coiling dragon fruits on the coiling dragon tree flickered with different colors. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged under the tree, cultivating the divine dragon body tempering art. Xiaochen hoped to master this body tempering art soon and obtain an acquired divine body. Sang took care of the propping mulberry tree sapling at the side. After the sky turned dark, Xiaochen came out of the divine universe steel and placed it in his body before continuing on his way. A distance of 10,000 miles was not considered far for him. Traveling at full speed, Xiaochen arrived in front of Condensing Cloud City in less than 4 hours. Condensing Cloud City remained brightly lit at night, looking extraordinarily bustling. The border cities were indeed bustling. Aside from the dangerous forbidden lands, the nearby borders were guarded by dragon race armies, patrolling day and night. If Xiaochen wanted to cross the border, passing through this city was the most suitable choice. Otherwise, if he took a detour, he would have to travel for another year or so, which would be extremely troublesome. Xiaochen removed the death god mask, and his facial bones moved. After a while, he looked like someone else. This level of disguise could only change one's appearance. It could not hide one's aura. To experts, this was not very useful. Xiaochen had lived in the Divine Dragon Empire for a long time. He had to have left his aura on some items in the hands of the Blood Dragon Guards and the Dragon Protecting Squad. However, he had to take a risk at the final stage. Xiaochen believed that, be it the Blood Dragon Guards or the Dragon Protecting Squad, he should have left them behind. As long as he rushed, he should be able to cross the borders smoothly. Before the city gates, Xiaochen saw his portrait on a wanted poster pasted on the city walls. Fortunately, the cultivators guarding the city gates were not very strong. Xiaochen's expression did not change. After handing over the primeval heavenly pills, he smoothly entered the city. At the same time, on the savannah where he fought during the day, the dragon god crown prince, Qin Ming, stood on the ground and looked around, his expression changing. After a while, the dragon protecting squad appeared and reported the information they collected to him. Interesting. I am one step too slow every time. I really don't believe that this is a coincidence. Qin Ming revealed a mocking smile on his handsome face. He was well aware of the hidden obstruction of certain factions. If the Dragon God Crown Prince could not find Xiaochen at the start, it would be understandable. Now, the Dragon God Crown Prince had narrowed down significantly. To think that he still could not stop the other party. This was truly strange. However, this made sense. The other divine dragon palaces would be happy to see such a person succeed. They would not be willing to let the Golden Dragon Palace's people kill him. Your Highness the Crown Prince, that person should have arrived at Condensing Cloud City already. We can send a command to the Condensing Cloud City's city lord to seal the city first. Then we can catch him like a turtle in a jar. A dragon protecting squad member suggested, sounding very reasonable. However, Qin Ming said indifferently, there's no need. Some people are probably already prepared and cannot be stopped. He is destined to leave the Divine Dragon Empire alive. Your Highness, there is no need to be so pessimistic. We will charge over tonight. Who dares to stop the Dragon Protecting Squad? What if it is the Blood Dragon Guards? The group of Dragon Protecting Guards revealed shocked expressions. Clearly, they were somewhat shocked. Why would the Blood Dragon Guards side with Xiaochen? However, they did not dare to question Qin Ming, not daring to say anything. All of you withdraw. There is no need for the Dragon Protecting Squad to participate in the remaining matters. I already made arrangements long ago. No matter who it is, they will not be able to protect you. Confidence flashed in Qin Ming's eyes as he waved his hand for the Dragon Protecting Squad to withdraw. The Dragon Protecting Squad members withdrew, not daring to resist. Qin Ming looked at the city in the distance under the night sky. Then, he stood upright with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "Since I guessed your plans, how could I not have made arrangements?" Chapter 2025. Under the night sky, in Condensing Cloud City, Xiaochen walked the streets. Even though it was late at night, this border city was still bustling with activity, brightly lit. Xiaochen did not choose to rashly exit closed-door cultivation. Instead, he found an inconspicuous inn to check in. After checking in, he sat down cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. The divine dragon body tempering art's energy circulated in his body. The rhythm of his breathing slowly changed along with the energy. After a while, azure-colored dragon chi soared up from Xiao Chen's body, burning like flames. The flames slowly burned up all the impurities in Xiao Chen's body, expelling them bit by bit. After 3 months of cultivation, Xiao Chen's divine dragon body tempering art was already very close to perfection of the 6th layer. He could break through at any moment. This was the divine dragon body tempering art. It continuously modified Xiao Chen's physical body, subtly refining it into an acquired divine body. An acquired divine body was not something that could be accomplished in a day. From the moment Xiao Chen started cultivating, the refinement of his divine body had already begun. Dragon bones, dragon tendons, dragon blood, these were changes that Xiao Chen did not realize at the start. They were preparations for an acquired divine body. When the sky brightened, the first ray of sunlight from the east shone into the room. As the sun rose in the east, purple chi arrived. Following that, strands of purple chi shone in. Azure smoke came from Xiao Chen's body. Amid the haze, crunching sounds came from his bones as they squirmed. Xiao Chen's already changed appearance forcibly recovered. Xiao Chen experienced a kind of extreme pain. He felt as if his body was being cut into pieces by thousands of knives, as if countless iron hammers were pounding on him. This was an indescribable pain. It was also a transformation that one had to experience in order to refine an acquired divine body and undergo a complete rebirth. Only when the blazing sun was high in the sky did the pain in Xiao Chen's body stop. He opened his eyes with some difficulty. The glaring sunlight made his eyes hurt. However, in the next moment, his physical body adapted to the intensity of the sunlight and released a bright light. The divine dragon body tempering art's 6th layer succeeded. Xiao Chen exhaled a long breath of turbid air. His eyes were extremely sharp. From head to toe, from inside to outside, he felt as if he had been reborn. With a thought, the vital chi in Xiao Chen's body gathered, and the formless vital chi appeared. As the vital chi flowed through Xiao Chen's body, it turned into many faint azure lines. Xiao Chen clenched his right fist and gathered the countless faint azure vital chi in his body. They instantly gathered together and formed a strand of dragon-shaped vital chi, which gathered in the fist light. Xiao Chen immediately sensed that the power contained in the fist had reached an extremely terrifying level. A total of 200 cauldrons of force. Is this a body? Xiao Chen was astonished. The change was so great that it completely exceeded his imagination. Why did you not cultivate the divine dragon body tempering art that I gave you? You have the cheek to call this the divine dragon war body? Don't embarrass me. Quickly go and cultivate the divine dragon body tempering art. Stop wasting time. The blood-soaked dragon emperor's disdainful words appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. Indeed, the blood-soaked dragon emperor did not bully him. It turned out that the divine dragon body tempering art that Xiao Chen did not pay much attention to back then was such a vast fortune. Furthermore, this was just the beginning. Xiao Chen's acquired divine body had changed Xiao Chen's physique from the very foundation. In the past, Xiao Chen only had astonishing comprehension ability. His physique and aptitude were not considered excellent. However, now that he had an acquired divine body, his comprehension ability was even better. His future potential was simply unimaginable. Gurgle. Suddenly, a strange sound came from his stomach. Strangely, Xiao Chen discovered that he was hungry. At Xiao Chen's cultivation realm, he no longer needed food in the mundane world. He only needed to satisfy his desire for good food once in a while. Now, he was actually hungry. This was truly strange. After tidying up and changing his appearance, Xiao Chen chose a window seat on the 2nd floor of the inn. He ordered many dishes and wine in one go. After the dishes were served, he ate heartily, feeling incredibly carefree. He had not eaten to his heart's content in a long time. Dear customer, your appetite is really huge. Even those strong men among cultivators would not be able to finish all the food and wine on the table. The waiter came over and looked at Xiao Chen with a smile. It seemed like he wanted to ask for a tip. Xiao Chen smiled but did not say anything, not saying anything. After Xiao Chen's divine body was newly formed, he needed to replenish it. Naturally, others would not understand. It looks like you have not eaten anything good for a few months already. When the waiter saw that Xiao Chen did not say anything, his smile did not fade. He sat across from Xiao Chen and picked up a cup of wine to drink. Xiao Chen's heart sank as he scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense. After carefully sizing up the place, he was shocked to discover that the guests on the second floor had been replaced by experts with withdrawn killing chi at some point in time. It's the Blood Dragon Guards. Just as Xiao Chen felt bewildered, the waiter's expression changed. After a while, it turned into a face that Xiao Chen was familiar with. It was Vice Hall Master Li of the Law Enforcement Hall of the Heaven Dragon Palace. Little brother Xiao Chen, it looks like your disguise is not up to standard. Vice Hall Master Li looked at Xiao Chen with a smile, appearing somewhat cocky. Xiao Chen had not seen through Vice Hall Master Li's disguise. Xiao Chen wiped off the grease on his lips and said softly, I underestimated the Blood Dragon Guard's ability. I thought that I managed to deceive everyone and that no one noticed me along the way. It turns out that the Blood Dragon Guards have been watching my every move. At this point, if Xiao Chen still did not realize that the Blood Dragon Guards knew his every move, he would be a fool. Vice Hall Master Li smiled and said, There's no need to be humble. The Blood Dragon Guard spent a lot of effort to find you. If you were not in the Divine Dragon Empire, we would not have been able to find you. First Palace Master, how is it? Xiao Chen did not say anything else, only asking about the topic that he was most concerned about. Vice Hall Master Li sighed softly, You are still the Xiao Chen that I know. You did not ask me why I did not capture you first. Don't worry. The First Palace Master is fine. With his prestige in the Heaven Dragon Palace, no one dares to truly touch him. However, he will definitely not be able to escape being imprisoned for several decades. Compared to that, you should be more concerned about yourself. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. If they wanted to capture me, they would have done so long ago. If I guess right, the Golden Dragon Palace has always been one step behind me. Is that also because of your contributions that the Golden Dragon Palace has been one step behind me? Indeed, that's right. The Blood Dragon Guards, the Shadow Dragon Sovereign, personally ordered us to escort you out. Don't ask me why. I don't know either. Vice Hall Master Li shrugged, indicating that he did not know. The Shadow Dragon Sovereign ordered us to escort me out of the Divine Dragon Empire? Xiao Chen felt incredibly shocked. This was truly unexpected. He had never seen that person before. Furthermore, an expert on the level of the Shadow Dragon Sovereign was not someone Xiao Chen could deal with. The Shadow Dragon Sovereign already stood at the peak of the entire Central Great Realm. Let's go. We already controlled this city in advance. The Golden Dragon Palace and the Dragon Protecting Guards will not be able to find us here, Vice Hall Master Li said as he stood up. Xiao Chen left behind a few spirit jades and stood up to leave with Vice Hall Master Li. However, he could not resolve the doubts in his heart. Vice Hall Master Li sent Xiao Chen off. As he said, Xiao Chen did not encounter any interference and came out of closed-door cultivation smoothly. When Xiao Chen looked back, he saw Condensing Cloud City behind him. A vast and boundless ancient swamp lay before him. This place was called Cloudwater Marsh. There was a spring for 5 kilometers and a river for 50 kilometers. When looking from a distance, one could only see a vast mist, not knowing how deep the ancient swamp was. After stepping into Cloudwater Marsh, one would be considered to have left the Divine Dragon Empire and be completely safe. However, Cloudwater Marsh itself was not peaceful. Ferocious beasts roamed it, and the environment was complicated. Just as Xiao Chen looked around, a murderous chi surged over. Xiao Chen immediately sensed danger. It was Vice Hall Master Li. To think that he attacked me. Xiao Chen did not have much time to think. In the time it took for a spark to fly, his vital chi surged as he threw a punch. Bang! Xiao Chen's fist light landed on Vice Hall Master Li's right shoulder. Vice Hall Master Li's palm strike landed on Xiao Chen's left shoulder. Pu Si. Vice Hall Master Li vomited a mouthful of blood. He nearly fainted from the pain. The bones in his right shoulder shattered, causing him to grimace in pain. The impact knocked Xiaochen back. When he landed, he happened to land on Cloudwater Marsh. Xiaochen was not injured at all. This startled him awake. Vice Hall Master Li was putting on an act, sending him to the final floor. The Blood Dragon guards helped Vice Hall Master Li up after wiping the blood off his lips. Then he smiled bitterly. This fellow is really ruthless. He nearly took half my life. That's fine. At least I can account for my injuries. Let's go back. As Xiaochen watched Vice Hall Master Li's group leave, he silently thanked them in his heart. At this moment, Xiaochen was already outside the Divine Dragon Empire. He felt somewhat complicated. Previously, he had put in a lot of effort to get to this place. Now, for the sake of leaving, he paid an even greater price than before. Fate was truly unpredictable. The matters of the world were like a game of Go, unpredictable. But sooner or later he would definitely come back. He would come back in an upright and above-board manner. Xiaochen took one last look at the Empire's border, at the final city. Then, he turned around and entered Cloudwater Marsh's hazy white fog. However, was he really safe after entering Cloudwater Marsh? Chapter 2026. The sky was vast and the water was vast. There was a spring for 5 kilometers around and a river for 50 kilometers around. Cloudwater Marsh lived up to its reputation. Clatter! Clatter! Xiaochen stepped on the muddy ground, traveling light as he advanced through the mist. The next 3 days were calm. Aside from some blind ferocious beasts, there were no other disturbances. At this point, Xiaochen relaxed, knowing that he was safe. However, he did not let down his guard. After putting in so much effort, the Golden Dragon Palace would not let him off so easily. At the very least, Xiaochen had to cross Cloudwater Marsh. As Xiaochen familiarized himself with his acquired divine body, he traveled. He did not fall behind in his cultivation either. 7 days later, Xiaochen roughly familiarized himself with his acquired divine body. Cloudwater Marsh, which had had enough, was about to leave. Everything was developing in a good direction. What is that sound? A flute? However, just as Xiaochen lowered his guard to its lowest, something strange happened. Suddenly, melodious flute music rang out in the vast mist. Xiaochen looked around, feeling confused. The flute music surrounded him, but he could not figure it out. Xiaochen shouted, "Which friend is playing the flute? Why not show yourself and meet me?" The flute music suddenly stopped, and a person slowly walked out of the mist in front. Xiaochen's body was like jade, and he looked delicate and pretty. He held a flute in his hand as he floated over. Within the mist, he looked like an immortal descending to the mortal world. There were 3 scarlet marks on his forehead, forming a beautiful scarlet orchid. A white cloud flies in the depths of the white clouds. A dot of azure and red reflects the moonlight. I am Bai Yunfei. I was entrusted by Qin Ming to wait for Brother Xiao for a long time. Bai Yunfei. Xiaochen had heard of this person before. He was the top expert of the White Marsh Beast Empire's royal clan's younger generation. In the White Marsh Beast Empire, he held the same status as Qin Ming. Many years ago, Bai Yunfei's name had shaken the northern region. He could be said to be unrivaled among the northern region's younger generation, extremely strong. To think that Qin Ming actually invited him out, Xiaochen's heart sank. He said coldly, "Since when did the White Marsh Beast Empire's royal clan become Qin Ming's lackey?" Bai Yunfei said softly, "Brother Xiao, don't be angry. I only owe him a favor. If you have any requests, I might be able to satisfy them before I die." Xiaochen's thoughts spun rapidly. This person's cultivation was too high. His talent, comprehension, and bloodline were all 1 in a million. He'd laid down a solid foundation long before he came to the Central World. If he was given another year and a half, he might be able to compete with this person. But now, it was a little difficult. At the same time, he realized that Vice Hall Master Li and the others might have been deceived. Qin Ming might have been deliberately attracting the Blood Dragon Guard's attention in the Divine Dragon Empire. He knew that even if he were to make a move within the Empire, he would be obstructed. He might as well let him go and let Bai Yunfei kill him without any interference. What a good plan. To be able to make Qin Ming feel assured that Bai Yunfei alone would be able to intercept and kill him, this Qin Ming was truly confident. Cloudwater Marsh happened to be a place where the White Marsh Beast Empire cultivators could bring out their full combat prowess. Enough nonsense. Make your move. With a cold face, Xiao Chen paid no attention to Bai Yunfei's hypocrisy. I originally kept my heart as bright as the moon. Unfortunately, Brother Zhao's enmity for me is too deep. Bai Yunfei shook his head gently. As he held the flute with his right hand, he slowly patted his left palm. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes. The other party's patting seemed somewhat strange. Oh no. Xiao Chen gently pushed off with his feet. In that instant, his figure soared into the air, spreading his arms. Boom! A large snake suddenly appeared where Xiao Chen originally stood, its gaping maw biting empty air. Xiao Chen could not help breaking out in a cold sweat. Had he been slower, he would have ended up in this beast's stomach. This person's heart was truly like that of a venomous snake, extremely sinister. As Bai Yunfei spoke, he actually hit a killing move in secret. Furthermore, he still appeared calm. Good movement technique. Bai Yunfei praised as he pointed with his flute. In the next moment, thousands of snake images shot out of the marsh, charging at Xiao Chen like arrows. Rumble! The ground trembled. The scene of thousands of snakes flying was truly shocking. When they appeared at the same time, they erupted with an aura even more terrifying than dragon might. Let's see how you break this. My flute already controlled all the large snakes within 5,000 kilometers. Bai Yunfei stood upright with his hands behind his back, appearing calm and confident in the mist. In Bai Yunfei's opinion, from the moment Xiao Chen saw him, Xiao Chen was already a dead man. The only thing left to guess was whether Bai Yunfei would finish off Xiao Chen in 3 moves, 2 moves, or 1 move. Firmament's rage. Just as Bai Yunfei was calculating how Xiao Chen would block and how he would deal a fatal blow after being severely injured, Xiao Chen, who was in the air, suddenly opened his palm. In that instant, he caught all the thousands of snake images in his palm. Boom! Xiao Chen clenched his fist. When he opened his palm again, blood spurted into the air. Lightning and saber lights rained down in the sky. Xiao Chen's palm strike broke the killing move that he set up calmly. Go! While the other party was stunned, Xiao Chen turned into a flash of lightning and flew over Bai Yunfei's head. Damn it! Bai Yunfei was startled and furious. He had not expected Xiao Chen to break this move so easily. By the time the shock passed, Xiao Chen had already turned into a flash of lightning, flying 500 kilometers away. You want to run? It's not that simple. Clouds with a flip of the hand. Bai Yunfei revealed a grave expression for the first time. With a wave of his hand, mist soared for 5,000 kilometers around, condensing into an unending stream of white clouds. Just as the righteous Dao's Xiao Chen was feeling uncertain, the white clouds for 5,000 kilometers around suddenly turned into towering mountains, falling down one after another. Xiao Chen was forced to reveal himself. He continuously punched out, shattering the mountains. His speed was greatly restricted. Rain with a flip of the hand. Bai Yunfei shouted coldly and attacked again. Fine rain fell from the white clouds for 5,000 kilometers around. This water is poisonous? When Xiao Chen came into contact with a drop, he immediately discovered that his veritable essence energy was being suppressed. The white rainwater turned into black poisonous gas that relentlessly attacked his physical body. Fortunately, Xiao Chen already had an acquired divine body and did not fear this poisonous water. However, the rain continued endlessly, corroding his body. In the end, it was a problem. Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. This person is really like a venomous snake, sinister and vicious and relentless. After being targeted, it is extremely troublesome to shake him off. After being targeted by me, Bai Yunfei, you still want to leave? Bai Yunfei flew up, moving like a venomous snake. A jade-green light appeared in his eyes, and his figure moved strangely fast. Xiao Qin ignored the poisonous rain in the air. He took out the god shadow bow, turned around, and fired an arrow. Bai Yunfei drew back the bowstring and released. The arrow arrived before Bai Yunfei at a frighteningly fast speed. The soul tool. This startled Bai Yunfei, but he did not fluster in the face of danger. He gathered his sovereign will on his forehead and shot it out, immediately pausing the arrow. Then, Bai Yunfei quickly dodged, leaving only an afterimage. Boom! The arrow struck the afterimage and instantly tore it apart. The arrow continued forward, blasting a huge pit in the ground. Bai Yunfei dodged this arrow by a hair's breadth. He frowned heavily, revealing an even graver expression. Unexpectedly, the other party had a soul tool. That was to say, he had a chance of killing Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin was no longer in an invincible position. Now, there was the risk of dying. I just knew that Qin Ming's mission would not be easy. Bai Yunfei cursed in his heart. He felt that Qin Ming had tricked him. Killing this Xiao Qin was not an easy task. Originally, Bai Yunfei thought that he could kill Xiao Qin in a few moves and return the favor to Xiao Qin. Now, it looked like things were not that simple. That's fine as well. Let me see how many arrows you can shoot. Bai Yunfei soared up and gave chase again. He actually missed. Since using the god shadow bow, this was the first time that Xiao Qin missed an opponent. The poisonous rain had already sealed off the path in front. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and relied on his divine dragon war body to endure the rain as he continued flying forward. As long as Xiao Qin left Cloud Water Marsh, the other party would not be so terrifying. At that time, he would have a much greater chance of escaping. This fellow's physical body. Bai Yunfei felt incredibly shocked when he saw Xiao Qin moving through the rain. Bai Yunfei understood the horror of the poison in the rain the best. He had once relied on this poison to kill 10 sovereign personages when he was a holy venerate, shaking up the northern region. Now, someone could move about fearlessly in this poisonous rain. How could Bai Yunfei not be shocked? This person has to die. Bai Yunfei made up his mind. Even if Qin Ming did not kill Xiao Qin, he had to deal with this future problem. To think that Xiao Qian's killing move failed. In the future, Xiao Qian would definitely be Xiao Qian's nemesis. Chapter 2027. Braving the poisonous rain, Xiao Qin ran as if he was flying. Every time his feet touched the surface of the swamp, he would travel 100 miles. 10,000 meters in an instant. At some point, Bai Yunfei was already standing under a white snake. The huge white snake was wriggling on the ground. However, its speed was even faster, and it did not need to worry about the effects of the poisonous rain on itself. He had the white snake chase after Xiao Qin fearlessly. At this rate, it wouldn't take long for the white snake to catch up to him. Moreover, he could still maintain his physical strength and true essence, so victory was within his grasp. Actually, Bai Yunfei could fly even faster. However, he feared the god shadow bow in Xiao Qian's hand. If he was caught off guard and was hit by an arrow, it would be troublesome. With the white snake chasing after Xiao Qin, he would be more confident of dodging the god shadow bow's arrows. However, the edge of Cloud Water Marsh was right in front of him, giving Xiao Qin a trace of hope. What? Xiao Qin suddenly felt his whole body relax. The world in front of him suddenly became clear, and a vast wasteland appeared in front of him. The blazing sun was scorching, and the land was scarlet, for thousands of li vegetation was sparse, and life was scarce. What is this place? Desolate Sea. Xiao Qin thought for a moment and remembered this place. This was the Central World, a vast and boundless region. The northern region and eastern region combined were not as vast as the Desolate Sea. The Desolate Sea lay between the northern region, the eastern region, and the Xuewu dynasty. Rumor had it that it was the main battlefield of the previous Great War between righteous factions and demonic factions. It was originally a blessed land that was comparable to a fairyland, but after the Great Battle, everything turned to dust and became what it was today. There was no sea, but the vast and boundless desolate land was simply too vast. It was as vast as a continent or ocean. Hence, this land was called the Desolate Sea. Xiao Chen had not expected that in his panic, he would end up here from Cloudwater Marsh. However, that did not matter. He could compare it to the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories and the map of reality. The Blue Dragon's old land seemed to be in the Desolate Sea. It seemed like the heavens were also fated to send him to the Blue Dragon's homeland to follow in the footsteps of his ancestors. Woo, but the sound of the flute was melodious and moving. Bai Yunfei chased after it. Hearing the sound of the flute, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. A murderous look flashed in his eyes. This was not the way to go on. Even the god Shadow Bao could not scare the other party away. If he didn't teach Bai Yunfei a lesson, he wouldn't learn his lesson. We reached the Desolate Sea? Standing on the head of the white snake, Bai Yunfei took a look at the surroundings and was slightly astonished. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen had chased them so far, arriving at the Desolate Sea. Looking around, he quickly locked onto Xiao Chen's position. Snakes were most sensitive to smell. Now that he had smelled Xiao Chen, it would be extremely difficult for him to completely escape from his pursuit. So be it, the Desolate Sea. This place is really annoying. The dry temperature and the scorching sun above their heads made Bai Yunfei, who specialized in the element of water, somewhat uncomfortable. The giant snake beneath his feet was also in a bad mood. There was no need to waste any more time on this mixed-blood dragon. Bai Yunfei flung his sleeves gently. He decided to go all out, not holding anything back. Xiao Chen's aura suddenly soared, reaching a horrifying level. The beautiful orchid formed by the 3 dots on his forehead looked like it would drip off at any moment. In the next moment, Xiao Chen pushed off the head of the white snake with his feet. He placed the flute by his mouth and used his veritable essence energy to blow it. As wondrous flute music rang out, Xiao Chen's figure soared into the air. The surrounding scenery changed continuously, looking like he teleported. Xiao Chen was scarily fast, more than twice as fast as the white snake. Bang! 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 What was even more horrifying was that the sound of the flute reverberated in the air. Everywhere it passed, it was an indiscriminate sound wave attack. Mountains flattened, and the scarlet ground exploded. Lava spewed out of the ground, and rocks floated in the air. This was a scene of the end of the world. No matter where Xiao Chen hid, as long as Bai Yunfei caught up, he would be injured by the sound waves. There would be no space for him to dodge. Suddenly, the flute music stopped. Bai Yunfei frowned heavily as he put down the flute. Then he looked around in shock. It's gone. That's right. It's gone. The aura was still incredibly clear a moment ago. In the next moment, all traces of Xiao Chen's aura vanished. It was like this person had been erased from the world, no longer existing. Where is he? Bai Yunfei exclaimed softly. Then, he suddenly looked up and discovered that demonic clouds for 5,000 kilometers had covered the sky at some point in time. The instant Bai Yunfei looked up, a pair of eyes happened to appear in the demonic clouds, staring at him in a daze. A demonic Dao expert. Bai Yunfei's expression changed slightly as he looked into the distance. A black-cloaked figure stood on a mountain peak in front. This person wore a white mask that looked like paint. 2 strange scriptures were written vertically on the exquisite mask. Bai Yunfei probed the person and was shocked to discover that he could not sense this person's cultivation. The Desolate Sea connected to the Shuawu dynasty. This vast region should be the place with the most active demonic Dao cultivators in the Central Great Realm. It was not strange to run into a demonic Dao expert. Just as Bai Yunfei felt uncertain, a ferocious beast soul suddenly appeared before him. Great Desolatian ferocious beast, Qiongqi beast. This startled Bai Yunfei. This thing was even harder to deal with than the arrows shot by the god Shadow Bao. Even though Bai Yunfei had already retreated at his fastest speed, that Qiongqi ferocious beast still managed to bite him. Then, Bai Yunfei's soul turned into a shadow and was dragged away. After the Qiongqi ferocious beast bit Bai Yunfei, a jade pendant on Bai Yunfei's neck gave off a ring of white light and forcefully pulled the incomplete soul back into the physical body. Bai Yunfei cried out in pain as he held his forehead. His complexion paled as he retreated frantically. The soul tool. It's another soul tool. When Bai Yunfei saw the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant in the cloaked person's hand, his heart thumped wildly. What's wrong with me today? First, I ran into Xiaoqin, who casually took out a soul tool. To think that a random demonic Dao cultivator has a soul tool as well. Isn't a soul tool a sex soul tool? Could it be that the world has changed? In the future, I have to carry a soul tool when I go out? Bai Yunfei felt so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He had not suffered such a loss in a long time. His soul actually sustained severe injuries. If not for Bai Yunfei having a defensive soul technique secret treasure, he would have died here. Why did you attack me for no reason? Without a reason, I, Bai Yunfei, absolutely will not let this matter rest. Bai Yunfei felt that his name was rather famous in the desolate sea. Regular demonic Dao experts would give him some face. Even if they did not give him face, they would give the White Marsh Beast Empire's royal clan some face. The Bai clan was an overlord of a region in the central Great Realm. I just caught a good physical body and am refining it into a demonic soul. You used sound waves to kill your way here, and you actually dare to ask me why I attacked you? If not for you being a Bai clan disciple, I would have refined you as well. A sinister voice came from the black-clad person. Bai Yunfei felt startled. I just caught a physical body. Could it be, might I ask Senior if the physical body you caught was wearing white clothes and was poisoned? I have no comment. Quickly scram. However, Bai Yunfei only smiled at the black-clad person's rage. It looked like it was true. No wonder Xiaoqin disappeared without a trace. It turned out that the soul-devouring sex people dealt with Xiaoqin, even refining his soul. Tsk. How miserable. The pain of having one's soul refined was so painful that one could neither live nor die. One would have to suffer torment for life. A fellow who practiced the Supreme Dragon Fist should have a limitless future. To think that he ended up in such a state. This was really lamentable. Bai Yunfei immediately felt that the injury to his soul was nothing much. Instead, he felt somewhat guilty. He was the one who forced Bai Yunfei into such a state. In some sense, it was because of him. However, don't blame me. Just die obediently at my hands. There would not be so much pain. Sorry for disturbing Senior. I will take my leave first. I really did not know that Senior was refining a ghost pennant. Bai Yunfei smiled faintly. After apologizing, he performed a cupped fist salute and took his leave. After the other party left and entered Cloudwater Marsh, Xiaoqin slowly removed his mask on the summit. There's no need to apologize. I should be the one apologizing. Xiaoqin muttered to himself. Then he looked at the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant, which still contained a strand of Bai Yunfei's soul. I should keep this strand of soul first. Perhaps I can use it in the future. I have to find a place to treat my injuries first. I still have to force out the poison in my body. To severely injure Bai Yunfei, Xiaoqin nearly overdrew on his soul energy to activate the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant. However, it was all worth it. Chapter 2028. Inside Cloudwater Marsh, Bai Yunfei sat on the huge snake, holding his forehead as he walked back in satisfaction. However, 1 hour later, the more Bai Yunfei thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. If it was really a demonic Dao expert, would he really show mercy after severely injuring him? Given the nature of demonic Dao experts, if Bai Yunfei were in his peak state, they would definitely be very polite after reporting his name, not daring to act rashly. However, would a demonic Dao expert with a soul tool remain indifferent after severely injuring him? Bai Yunfei's soul was much stronger than Xiaoqin's. To the soul-devouring sex people, it was a great supplement, filled with temptation. No matter what, Bai Yunfei had to go back and take a look. Whoosh! Bai Yunfei gently waved the flute in his hand, and the clouds and fog for 5,000 kilometers around scattered. Bai Yunfei leaped up and soared into the air with his hands behind his back. The expression on his handsome face changed continuously. Clearly, his emotions fluctuated. After 15 minutes, Bai Yunfeng, who was flying at full speed, returned to the place where he negotiated with the black-clad man. However, the mountain summit was empty. There was no one there. Bai Yunfei's exquisite and handsome facial features twitched involuntarily as he gritted his teeth. He clenched his right fist tightly, and his body trembled slightly. A terrifying murderous intent spread in his heart. I got played. It would be impossible to refine the ghost pennant in a short time. If the other party had not lied, he would not have left at this moment. Bai Yunfei was a smart person. Naturally, he would not hold on to any hope at this moment, saying some self-consoling words. He had to admit that Xiao Qin had tricked him. To think that a plaything dared to reprimand him, pretending to be an expert and telling him to scram. The pitiful Bai Yunfei even believed it and apologized to the other party. Thinking about it, Bai Yunfei felt a pent-up frustration in his chest that he could not vent, feeling extremely unbearable. Not only that, but the most important thing was that the other party had injured him, yet he was secretly delighted. This was simply foolish. Even Bai Yunfei could not bear to look at it. Bai Yunfei closed his eyes and did his best to calm his emotions. His lips were still trembling. This showed how unbearable such humiliation was for Bai Yunfei. After a long time, Bai Yunfei finally opened his eyes. His expression had completely calmed down by now. Sighing, he said, "Victory and defeat are commonplace in a soldier's life. A man will always experience some setbacks in his life. It's not a good thing if things go too smoothly. This is a good lesson. I should thank him." Having said all of this, Bai Yunfei seemed to have completely let it go. He had already calmed down. However, Bai Yunfei had only taken one step when he suddenly turned around and slammed his palm down onto the mountain below him. Buzz! At the foot of the mountain, countless cracks spread out in all directions. In the next instant, the area within a radius of 10,000 li exploded. A terrifying aura swept across the place, turning the barren land into a land of death. "It would be strange if I thanked you. When I recover from my injuries, I will definitely come to the desolate sea to wash away today's humiliation." After venting his anger, Bai Yunfei finally calmed down. With a cold snort, he turned around and left. Naturally, Xiao Qin couldn't appreciate this wonderful scene. While riding on the demon blood vulture, Xiao Qin had already traveled more than 500,000 kilometers away from this place. He could be considered to have crossed the desolate sea's borders and truly stepped into the desolate sea that nurtured countless legends. After making sure that it was safe, Xiao Qin chose another place to land and treat his injuries. After everything calmed down, Xiao Qin discovered with some fear that he had still underestimated the poison in the rain. This poison had actually infiltrated his soul without him realizing it. No matter where the poison was, be it the internal organs, blood vessels, or bone marrow, the acquired divine body could cleanly remove it. However, the poison actually infiltrated his soul. In his soul pool, the azure-colored will of soul that represented Xiao Qin's soul was dyed with a layer of black fog. Although there wasn't much poison, it was difficult to expel. It was constantly corroding his soul. Even worse, Xiao Qin had used his soul energy to drive the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant without realizing it, causing the poison to infiltrate further. Although it was not fatal, it would be difficult to eradicate it quickly. Xiao Qin searched the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories for poisons that could corrode the soul. However, he was greatly startled. It turned out that there were hundreds of poisons that could corrode the soul in this world. There were even sinister people who could combine the poison with a curse. Even if one destroyed their soul and cultivated a part of it, they would not be able to remove the poison. As Xiao Qin continued searching for a way to detoxify the poison, he learned that the poison Bai Yunfei used was the Thousand Taste Red, which only the extremely talented people of the White Marsh Beast Empire's royal clan could comprehend. This poison cultivation technique had extremely harsh requirements, even more difficult than Xiao Qin's Supreme Dragon Fist. However, once one succeeded in practicing it, one would be extremely horrifying. One would not need to fear cultivators with higher cultivations. Back then, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor had suffered from it. Xiao Qin immediately felt some lingering fear. Now, he knew how horrifying Bai Yunfei was. How fortunate was he to be able to escape from Bai Yunfei's hands and even severely injure him? Naturally, The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor did not want to suffer from such a terrifying poison cultivation technique a second time. After much effort, he finally thought of a way to detoxify the poison. Xiao Chen carefully thought about the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's method to detoxify the poison. After understanding it, he felt much more confident. According to the secret technique in the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories, he only needed 7 days to perfectly remove the poison in his soul. Boo, boo. Just at this moment, the sound of musical instruments rang out from behind. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, and his expression changed slightly. At first, he thought that it was Bai Yunfei chasing after him. However, after a while, he discovered that was not the case. The musical instruments behind him clearly came from a group of people playing. However, there was a flute among this group of people, an exceptionally refined sound. This flute sounded like resentment and admiration. It was ethereal and refined, going on endlessly. The sound lingered in the air, its cadence pleasant to the ear. What was even more amazing was that the flute player did not deliberately stand out. Instead, the zither and pipa music around her intertwined and fused together. It was like a clear spring twisting and turning, and she was just a fish in the spring. Occasionally, she would be lively, leaping out of the water and looking at the world in a cute and mischievous manner. Then, she would immediately fall back into the spring and flow happily with the flow. Soon, the performer of the music entered Xiao Chen's vision. It turned out to be a group of white-clad women, each looking like a fairy with a moving spirituality. They played the flute and the zither, appearing carefree and unfettered. Are they from the heavenly fragrance? Xiao Chen entered deep thought as he watched this group of women pass by, leaving only a faint fragrance lingering in the air. The heavenly fragrance was an ancient and mysterious holy land. Holy lands were existences that surpassed rank 7 sections. Like most holy lands, the heavenly fragrance rarely interfered with mundane matters. Without a doubt, the overlords of the world were the 4 dynasties, the 8 great empires, and the various rank 7 sections. However, the truly strong holy lands with ancient inheritances rarely appeared in the world. They pursued mundane benefits. Among the holy lands, the heavenly fragrance was the strangest. It always remained neutral. Even in the great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions, it would not involve the unfettered sections. The heavenly fragrance's disciples were all women. All of the disciples were as beautiful as fairies and had outstanding grace. It was said that the heavenly fragrance's sect was in the desolate sea. However, no one knew the exact location. I am pretty lucky to be able to see a group of heavenly fragrance disciples. The earlier music seemed to still echo in Xiao Chen's ears. He revealed a faint smile as he muttered to himself. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly, revealing some doubt. The heavenly fragrance's disciple, who had just passed by him, had actually turned back. Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He was not confident that he could attract the heavenly fragrance's disciples with his charm. Otherwise, they would not have passed by earlier without slowing down at all. They really came. As Xiao Chen thought this, the group of fairy-like heavenly fragrance disciples really landed before him and stopped playing the instruments in their hands. One of the people holding a flute slowly stepped forward. He was not wearing a veil. She did not wear a veil, but her face gave off a blurry feeling, like looking at flowers in the fog. It was hazy but not to the point where one could not see anything. She should have been the one who played the flute earlier. However, what did she mean by walking over? Chapter 2029. What is she trying to do? Xiao Chen felt somewhat confused. This flute-bearing woman was already very close to him. She was less than 2 meters away. Furthermore, she was getting closer. When she was 1 meter away, she stopped. Just as Xiao Chen felt confused, a spirited voice came from the flute-bearing woman's mouth. This young master seems to be poisoned by the White Marsh Beast Empire's strange poison, 1000 Taste Red? So, it is because of this. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly in his heart. For a moment, he really thought that his charm was boundless. That's right. I am indeed poisoned by the strange poison, 1000 Taste Red. Do the fairies of the heavenly fragrance have a way to treat me? The flute-bearing woman shook her head and said, "This poison can only be treated by an elder of our sect. The process is rather troublesome. However, our sect rarely receives outsiders. Here is a detoxification pill. It can help young master for a while. I wish young master good luck." The flute-bearing woman came all the way here just to give him a medicinal pill. Even though the poison could not be completely cured, it was still a token of goodwill. Xiao Chun thanked her and received the medicinal pill. "I hope that young master will be blessed by heaven." The flute-bearing woman sighed in her heart and turned to leave. Being poisoned by Thousand Taste Red was basically a dead end for a holy venerate. Although it was said that heaven helped the worthy, it was not that easy. "Might I ask for young lady's name so that I can repay this favor in the future? We are just strangers meeting by chance. It's nothing much. There is no need." The flute-bearing woman did not stop walking, drifting away with her senior and junior sisters. They came like the wind and left like the wind. They came and went in a hurry, like a dream or an immortal. If not for the faint fragrance lingering in the air and the medicinal pill in his hand, he would find it hard to believe that he had just interacted with a group of heavenly fragrance disciples. Shaking his head, Xiao Chun smiled faintly and carefully put away the medicinal pill. As Xiao Chun looked around, he entered deep thought. "I have to find a city first to figure out where I am." The desolate sea was boundlessly vast, but the population was sparse. The scarcity of resources had created a valiant and unyielding people. On the endless barren land, newcomers needed some luck if they wanted to find a city without spending too much time. At dusk, on the western horizon, an incomparably huge setting sun appeared at the end of the horizon. Such a setting sun could only be appreciated in the desolate sea. It was an incredibly shocking sight to behold. After sunset, the sky quickly darkened. The temperature plummeted. It was the complete opposite of the scorching heat of the day. It was bone-chilling. Just by opening one's mouth, one would exhale cold air. Blood moon. Xiao Chun looked up and was surprised to find that the moon had appeared in the sky. However, it was a blood-red moon. This was the first time Xiao Chun had seen a blood-red moon, and he frowned. Xiao Chun seemed to have heard that the desolate sea's moon was scarlet every night. He looked around and gradually found that something was wrong. The air was cold and there was a chill in it. It wasn't entirely because of the temperature. The yin qi in this place was extremely dense. It was said that the decisive battle between the righteous and demonic paths had taken place here. Both sides had killed until their eyes were red. This resulted in the original immortal realm turning into the current desolate sea. Who knew how many aggrieved spirits and corpses were buried under the ground? Furthermore, the desolate sea was located at the intersection of the northern region, the eastern region, and the Shuewu dynasty. It could be said to be a chaotic place. Over the years, there had been endless killings. After the war between the righteous and demonic paths, who knew how many corpses had been buried here? Xiao Chun used his spiritual sense to listen in all directions. He could hear the terrifying wails of many aggrieved spirits and malicious spirits. Together with the blood moon in the sky and the sinister cold qi, this boundless night made one feel somewhat flustered. When Xiao Chun opened his heavenly eye, he could see scattered black resentment coming out of the cracks in the ground in the night. The resentment lingered in the air, swaying and looking very strange. "It looks like this place is not suitable for traveling at night." Xiao Chun did not understand much about the desolate sea. He had only heard a little about it. Xiao Chun felt that many places in the boundless night were different from the day. This gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. He could not see through many places at all. The desolate sea's night seemed exceptionally deep. Xiao Chun had been unlucky during the day, failing to find a city. However, the night suddenly became so strange. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun chose to rest here, not advancing any further. He got the demon blood vulture to patrol the surroundings to protect him. As for Xiao Chun, he chose to continue cultivating. Now that his divine body was formed, he needed to spend more time on his cultivation. He had already been stuck at late-stage holy venerate for a long time. He needed to break through to sovereign personage as soon as possible. After losing the protection of the Heaven Dragon Palace and coming directly to the desolate sea, Xiao Chen's holy venerate cultivation was insufficient. Xiao Chen checked his resources. Of the millions of primeval heavenly pills he had, only about 500,000 remained. He probably would not be able to cultivate for long, which would be problematic. This was how things were after leaving the sect. One needed to face many things alone. However, Xiao Chen was already used to this. He maintained a good attitude and did not worry too much. Under the night sky, Xiao Chen laid a simple spirit-gathering formation and infused spirit jades into it. Then, he waved his hand and consumed 100 primeval heavenly pills. Together with the spiritual energy absorbed by the spirit-gathering formation, he refined them at the same time. The purple thunder divine incantations slowly circulated. Whoosh! The 100 primeval heavenly pills were digested in mere moments. After tempering his body, his cultivation speed was on a completely different level. However, his need for resources also increased exponentially. Rumble! Just as Xiao Chen cultivated, the sound of fighting came from the night sky. Based on the sound, it was not far from where Xiao Chen was. That's not right. The source of the sound was continuously approaching Xiao Chen. Soon he sensed two auras. The two auras were very chaotic. When mixed together, it was hard to tell what exactly was going on. Xiao Chen's vision and spiritual sense were significantly affected in the night sky. Xiao Chen stopped cultivating and soared into the air. Then, he landed on the demon blood vulture's back and waited in formation. While on the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chen opened his heavenly eye and finally saw what was going on. A gray-clad man was currently dodging the pursuit of another person. The gray-clad man was covered in mud and looked somewhat miserable, appearing very dangerous. The humanoid ferocious beast radiated death chi, obscuring its appearance. It seemed to be someone of the demonic Tao. It was very common to run into people of the demonic Tao in the desolate sea. The factions of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao maintained a delicate balance in the desolate sea. The relationship between the cultivators of the two factions was not as tense in the desolate sea as it was in other places. The gray-clad man appeared extremely weak and severely injured. When he saw Xiao Chen, he rejoiced and shouted, "Friend of the dragon race, I am Qin Zhuolin. Can you help block the desolate slave behind?" Desolate slave? What is that? Could it be that the person behind is not a demonic Tao cultivator? Without thinking, Xiao Chen attacked decisively. Thunder Monarch Spear. Xiao Chen used the Thunder Great Tao's Thunder Tao energy to drive the 5-element Divine Lightning. When the Thunder Great Tao energy infused into the 5-element Divine Lightning, it quickly formed a solid spear. Whoosh! Boundless electric light burst out in all directions from the spear. A sovereign's aura spread out on the spear. Under the illumination of the electric light in the night, Xiao Chen's face appeared solemn. Bang! In the time it took for Xiao Chen to think, the Thunder Monarch spear stabbed into the strange desolate slave chasing after him. Bang! The horrifying electric light exploded, illuminating the surroundings in the night. Qin Zhuolin took this opportunity to climb onto the demon blood vulture. Then he urged, "Quickly go. This thing cannot be killed. It is not something you can fight." Is that so? Xiao Chen looked over. Although the 5-element Divine Lightning did not blast the strange desolate slave into pieces, it collapsed to the ground, unable to get up. The 5-element Divine Lightning blasted away most of the death chi on its body, causing it to twitch endlessly. 5-element Divine Lightning. This startled Qin Zhuolin. Then, joy appeared on his face. So, it is the 5-element Divine Lightning. No wonder you dare to barge into the desolate sea as a mere holy venerate. However, we still have to leave quickly. There is still a large group behind this thing. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless, so he got the demon blood vulture to turn around and leave. Sitting on the demon blood vulture, Qin Zhuolin's flustered expression calmed significantly. Qin Zhuolin wiped away the dirt on his face. Under the dirty dirt, his facial features appeared upright, giving him a forthright air. However, his complexion appeared somewhat pale. He could compare to the white marsh beast empire cultivators that Xiao Chen had seen before. Qin Zhuolin smiled generously and said, "Many thanks, brother, for saving my life. If there is anything you need in the future, just give me a call. I will be at your beck and call in the desolate sea." "You are too polite. What is the background of the desolate slave chasing you?" When Qin Zhuolin heard that, he felt slightly startled. After a while, he smiled and said, "It looks like this is not your first time coming to the desolate sea. Furthermore, you did not come on purpose but were forced to." Chapter 2030. Xiao Chen was not surprised. With just a little deduction, he could tell that this was his first time here. Qin Zhuolin paused for a moment before explaining to Xiao Chen, "Desolate slaves are not strange things. They are just the unclean things in the ground. In other places, they are called zombies. The cultivators of the desolate sea are used to calling them desolate slaves. They are much more horrifying than regular zombies." Lightning had a strong suppressive effect on unclean things like zombies. However, the Thunder Monarch spear could not completely kill zombies. They could no longer be described as simply horrifying. Calling them zombies was no longer appropriate. It was hard to imagine how this Qin Zhuolin managed to escape from a group of desolate slaves. Based on Qin Zhuolin's cultivation, he was only an initial perfection sovereign personage, not even at small perfection. He was far from great perfection. Sovereign personages had a total of 4 grades: initial perfection, small perfection, great perfection, and consummation. With every 10%, the difference in strength would be significant. Right now, Xiao Chen no longer feared an initial perfection sovereign personage. If he grasped the timing well, he could even severely injure or even kill the other party. However, he still had to be careful when running into a small perfection sovereign personage. This Qin Zhuolin before Xiao Chen definitely had something extraordinary about him. Otherwise, he would not have been able to escape from a group of desolate slaves. To think that you dare to appear in the wilderness under the blood moon. I guess that you have not found a city yet. Qin Zhuolin smiled faintly. Xiao Chen guessed correctly. Then he added, "The nearest city is to the southeast. You will reach it after about 15 million kilometers." When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt flabbergasted. This desolate sea was really remote. If Xiao Chen were unlucky, he might not even find a city after 10 days or half a month. 15 million kilometers was said to be very far. However, in the vast desolate sea, it was not even the tip of an iceberg. Even if the eastern and northern regions were added together, the desolate sea would not be as large as the desolate sea. To cultivators, 15 million kilometers was a relatively long distance. If one did not travel at full speed, one would need 2 days. When we get there, we should buy a map of the desolate sea. Although it is not complete, we will not get lost. Qin Zhuolin suggested considerately, appearing very experienced. This person was also very mysterious. Xiao Chen never had the habit of speaking out of turn. Naturally, he would not ask why this person was being chased by a group of desolate slaves. After chatting for a while, Qin Zhuolin smiled mysteriously and said, "Come, I'll treat you to some wine. It wasn't easy for me to get my hands on this wine, but I haven't had the chance to drink it yet." Qin Zhuolin felt grateful to Xiao Chen for saving his life. The best wine in the world? Xiao Chen, who had drunk the 1,000-year flame before, did not believe it. He showed a suspicious expression. Qin Zhuolin took out an ancient metal wine flask. The wine flask was azure and had some dust on it. After wiping away the dust, a complex and exquisite appearance was revealed. There was a curved dragon-shaped handle, and the body of the bottle was embroidered with a dragon pattern. A long, thin chain was attached to the handle to prevent it from being lost. In the blink of an eye, it looked like a blue dragon sealed in chains, raising its head and roaring angrily, wanting to soar into the sky. This has a blue dragon drawn on it." Xiao Chen exclaimed hoarsely, truly startled. He could not hide the shock in his eyes. "So, this is a blue dragon. You dragon race people are really more knowledgeable. However, What kind of dragon is a blue dragon? Qin Zhuolin looked at Xiao Chen curiously. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said, I'm not sure. I only caught a glimpse of it in ancient texts and did not understand it in detail. Qin Zhuolin did not mind. He handed the flask to Xiao Chen and said, Hee. There's no need to care what dragon it is. Try drinking it. After receiving the blue dragon wine flask, Xiao Chen took out a wine cup and filled it up. Then he took a sip. Not bad. Then he drank it all in one gulp. Immediately, an extremely cold sensation invaded every cell in Xiao Chen's body. In the next moment, he felt extremely carefree. His entire body, including his soul, could not help trembling. The fiery feeling turned into a warm current flowing through his body. Xiao Chen felt dizzy. After drinking one cup, he actually felt drunk. What was even more exaggerated was that after drinking this cup of wine, Xiao Chen felt his cultivation improve significantly in an instant. This was equivalent to half a year of bitter cultivation. Xiao Chen was truly shocked. After a long time, he slowly recovered his wits. However, the blush on his face did not fade. The aftereffects were hard to get rid of. Xiao Chen's entire body felt like it was on fire. His internal organs and even his soul felt like it was burning. How is it? This wine is pretty good, right? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and stabilized his somewhat shaky mind. Then he asked, How old is this wine? Not long. I estimate it to be at least 5,000 years old. Congratulations, Brother Xiao. This bottle contains the already lost exceptional wine, Heartburn. It is the legendary strongest wine of the dragon race. Rumor has it that a powerhouse was willing to pay a jade mine for this cup of wine. That news shook the world. Heartburn indeed felt like the heart was on fire. The aftereffects were great, leaving one with a rich aftertaste. Amid the heat was an indescribable carefree feeling, boundlessly delightful. Great wine. However, Qin Zhuolin did not even tell me about this 5,000-year-old wine. This Qin Zhuolin is really bad. Seeing something amiss with Xiao Chen's expression, Qin Zhuolin quickly smiled and said, Don't be angry. I'll give you this wine and the wine cup. This wine cup is also a wondrous item. As long as you drip a drop of wine on it, it will fill up the entire flask in an instant. Also, I'll give you the recipe for heartburn as well. I have no use for it anyway. Qin Zhuolin's repeated generous gifts did not make Xiao Chen angry. He really liked this wine flask. In addition to the brewing recipe of heartburn, the amount spent was really quite large. Logically speaking, it would be very difficult for Xiao Chen to accept such a big gift. There was no such thing as an undeserved reward. Although Xiao Chen had saved the other party's life, it was just a slight effort. Compared to this generous gift, it was truly insignificant. Qin Zhuolin smiled straightforwardly and said, To you, this is an insignificant gesture, but you saved my life. Furthermore, I have no use for this, so it is not much. Many thanks. Xiao Chen did not stand on ceremony, accepting the blue dragon wine flask and the recipe for heartburn. The appearance of the blue dragon wine flask piqued Xiao Chen's curiosity. Where did you get this? Qin Zhuolin smiled mysteriously but did not answer. Oh no. Just at this moment, the two's expressions changed. Xiao Chen turned his head to look. In the sky, a huge figure appeared under the huge blood moon that seemed as if it could be reached out to touch. This figure wore heavy armor, and a pair of scarlet eyes flickered under the helmet. Death chi spread all around him. There was a rusty chain in his hand, and there was an iron hook that was as sharp as a knife tied to it. As the man waved the chain, the iron hook and the iron chain spun like the wind. The huge figure hovered in the air, covering most of the blood moon. Even from a great distance, the two could feel the cold wind blowing at them. That pair of intimidating eyes made one tremble with just one look. Xiao Chen instantly sobered up, feeling wary and fearful. Xiao Chen's legs went soft, and he could not control his limbs. How horrifying was the strength of this desolate slave that targeted the two. Xiao Chen did not dare to imagine. He felt that the other party only needed one strike to crush him to dust, killing him. He felt incredibly insignificant before it. Damn it. It's still caught up. Qin Zhuolin pushed Xiao Chen and quickly jumped off the demon blood vulture. Then, he turned into a beam of light and fled. Xiao Chen startled awake. He turned the demon blood vulture back into a ring and wore it on his finger. Then he shot off like lightning. Right after the two left, the iron hook traveled more than 500,000 kilometers and landed where the two had been. With a swoosh, the iron hook sank into the ground. Bang! Before Xiao Chen could react, he was horrified to discover that the ground stood up like a wall and crashed into him. Xiao Chen immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. His internal organs shattered, and the ground exploded, turning into countless huge rocks. This desolate slave in tattered heavy armor actually managed to pull up the ground. From a distance, it looked like it had pulled out a square lattice from the ground. However, in reality, this square lattice was already as large as the Heaven Dragon City. Just the impact of the ground instantly severely injured Xiao Chen. After all, he had an acquired divine body and was severely injured. One could easily imagine how horrifying the impact was. Xiao Chen and Qin Zhuolin could not help themselves as they got knocked back. The heavy-armored desolate slave ignored Xiao Chen. It fixed its gaze on Qin Zhuolin, who got knocked back. The heavy-armored desolate slave spread out its hand, and space seemed to shrink in front of it. The distance between it and Qin Zhuolin shrank. Qin Zhuolin looked as insignificant as an ant before that palm, powerless to struggle. After being captured, he would not be able to escape death. The scene before Xiao Chen was somewhat similar to Xiao Chen's firmament's rage. Without much thought, Xiao Chen activated his great desolate Ian bloodline and used the 5-element divine lightning to drive firmament's rage. Then he threw a palm strike. Something strange happened. The gigantic hand, which was much larger than Qin Zhuolin, was about the same size as the one Xiao Chen used to execute firmament's rage, only slightly larger. Just as the heavy-armored desolate slave was about to grab Qin Zhuolin, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike first. Bang! The two palms clashed, and Xiao Chen got knocked back like a sandbag. Space turned chaotic, nearly tearing Xiao Chen's physical body to shreds. Qin Zhuolin took the opportunity to escape. When he saw this scene, he felt greatly startled. Unexpectedly, he managed to escape from a sure-death situation. Seeing the heavy-armored desolate slave focus on Xiao Chen, Qin Zhuolin immediately panicked. He crossed his hands and formed hand seals. Qin Zhuolin's eyes turned pitch black, looking boundlessly deep like a bottomless pit. It was so deep that it made one's heart tremble. 9 Heavens God Sealing Formation, rise. After Qin Zhuolin formed the hand seals, he shouted, and light shone behind him. Thousands of formation flags soared into the sky like a boundless rain of arrows. In the next moment, thousands of formation flags layered over each other. Spiritual light danced in the night sky, forming an incredibly complicated formation that turned into 9 layers of heavenly curtains. The 9 layers of heavenly curtains smashed down on the heavy-armored desolate slave, preventing it from killing Xiao Chen. However, before the 9 layers of heavenly curtains could finish smashing down, the heavy-armored desolate slave tossed out a metal hook. The heavenly curtains broke layer by layer, turning into starlight that filled the sky. When the formation broke, Qin Zhuolin vomited a mouthful of blood and got knocked back. The legend is true. Qin Zhuolin turned ashen, feeling some despair. Just at this moment, the first ray of light from the east appeared in the distant horizon. Dawn is approaching. Qin Zhuolin felt stunned. Then he rejoiced. I'm saved. The heavy-armored desolate slave could not be bothered with the two. It stretched out its hand to cover its eyes and quickly fled far away. It quickly withdrew its overwhelming death chi. Chapter 2031. With the appearance of dawn, the blood moon receded. In the desolate sea, the sinister, cold, and strange atmosphere vanished. That heavily armored desolate slave also felt some fear. After the first ray of light shone on its body, it quickly withdrew its death chi and fled far away. By the time the sun rose, this terrifying desolate slave was nowhere to be seen. The desolate sea fell into another extreme. Xiao Chen and Qin Zhuolin stood side by side as they looked at the morning sun. After surviving a calamity, the two felt somewhat rueful as they looked at the rising sun. No one expected to be able to escape from such a horrifying desolate slave. This was the first time in their lives that they found the morning sun so familiar. Xiao Chen asked, "What is the origin of that desolate slave? It came for you, right?" "That is Soul Reaper. Because it resembles the Soul Reaper from the immortal epic. The people of the desolate sea call it Soul Reaper. It is one of the 10 great desolate slaves of the desolate sea. According to legend, everyone who saw it died, but the two of us survived." Qin Zhuolin appeared to be in a good mood. Under the morning sun, he relaxed. As Qin Zhuolin looked at Xiao Chen, his initial indifference turned into admiration. He had not expected Xiao Chen to be able to save him from Soul Reaper with one palm strike. "You should not be a nameless person. How come I have never heard of a dragon race cultivator who can reach the 3rd layer of Firmament's Rage?" Even now, Qin Zhuolin still felt somewhat shocked at the crucial palm strike that saved him. It was not only the might of the 3rd layer of Firmament's Rage that shocked him but also Xiao Chen's courage. How many people could have the courage and boldness to attack Soul Reaper? Not only did Xiao Chen not flee, but he even turned around and made a move, saving Qin Zhuolin. This was much more valuable than the first time Qin Zhuolin saved him. The first time, he was only caught by a desolate slave. "I believe that your name will shake the desolate sea soon, becoming a dragon race outstanding talent no weaker than the Dragon God Crown Prince or the White Dragon Holy Daughter." Qin Zhuolin thought highly of Xiao Chen's potential, not holding back on his praise. Xiao Chen smiled but did not say anything. The person in front of Xiao Chen was even more mysterious than Xiao Chen had imagined. Xiao Chen originally thought that the desolate slaves had injured him. Now, it looked like the one who severely injured him was Soul Reaper. Then, a group of low-ranked desolate slaves chased after him. To be able to come out unscathed after receiving a blow from a Hellguard, it was clear that this person was no simple character. "You must be a Geomaster, right?" Xiao Chen shook the blue dragon wine pot in his hand and said thoughtfully, 5,000 years of fine wine, I wonder which tomb it was taken from." Qin Zhuolin smiled and said, "Who knows?" "Goodbye, we'll meet again someday." This answer was a tacit admission. "See you later." For some reason, Xiao Chen felt that he would meet this Qin Zhuolin again in the future. At that time, the mysterious identity of that person would be revealed. After coming to the desolate sea, he first ran into the Heavenly Fragrance's fairy maiden. Then he ran into this Qin Zhuolin. This was rather interesting. After watching the other party leave, Xiao Chen set off again according to Qin Zhuolin's instructions. He needed to find a city and obtain a map of the desolate sea. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and treated his injuries. At the same time, he used the secret technique that the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor left behind. Xiao Chen had to remove the 1,000 taste red from his soul. His injuries were rather problematic. Fortunately, there were no major problems and no fatal danger. When the sun set, the silhouette of a city appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. The huge setting sun, in the skyline, slowly sank. Every time one saw such a huge setting sun in the desolate sea, they would feel incredibly shocked. The setting sun looked like fire, dyeing the horizon red and forming unending volcanic clouds. Together with the darkening sky, the setting sun looked somewhat ancient. Clatter, clatter. Cultivators from various places could be seen on the ground, riding huge mutated beasts. These cultivators kicked up a cloud of dust and rushed to the city. Only in the city could one find a sense of security in the desolate sea's night. However, many cultivators stood on the city walls, wearing all sorts of clothes. Their expressions were cold as they occasionally leaped down, going in the opposite direction. These people moved out of the city in groups of 3 to 5, looking exceptionally eye-catching. These people all gave off faint demonic qi. They were all demonic Tao cultivators. The desolate sea's night was especially suitable for these demonic Tao cultivators. They could bring out their full combat prowess. If these demonic Tao cultivators were lucky, they could find strong souls or capture desolate slaves and refine them into corpses, which would be a pretty good harvest. Of course, there were also some righteous Tao cultivators among them. They were all skilled and bold people. There would always be such adventurers everywhere, daring to challenge themselves. Perhaps they were here for experiential training or to seek out fortuitous encounters. The desolate sea seemed to be much more exciting than what Xiaochen first saw. However, at this moment, no matter what others thought, he only wanted to enter the city quietly and rest well after experiencing the excitement of the previous night. Ping City, as its name suggested, it was just an ordinary city. It was far from being as majestic and glorious as the Dragon City. However, this small city bustled with people and was brightly lit. The density of people and the bustle of the night made it even livelier than Heaven Dragon City. This made sense. There might not even be a city within 50 million kilometers. With such a small population, there had to be a lot of people. Xiaochen was not in a rush to buy a map. After choosing an inn to stay in, he started to treat his injuries. Be it the fight with Bai Yunfei or the previous night's fight with Soul Reaper, he needed to recover properly. Xiaochen stayed in the inn for 7 days before coming out. His injuries had all healed, and he returned to his peak state. He even felt like he was going to improve further. 1 cup of heartburn allowed Xiaochen's cultivation to improve significantly, completely stabilizing his cultivation as a late-stage holy venerate. Xiaochen estimated that when he finished this bottle, no matter how many resources his divine body required, he would be able to reach peak holy venerate. His cultivation would also reach peak consummation holy venerate. As Xiaochen wandered around the city, preparing to buy a map, he stopped in front of a magnificent building with a 4-legged cauldron in front of it. The 9-cauldron pavilion. No matter where Xiaochen went, he would run into such shops. The 9-cauldron pavilion before him seemed to be of a higher standard than the ones he had seen before. Learning from his previous experience, Xiaochen took out the VIP medallion that Li Xiuhai gave him and asked, "What is this medallion? Can I meet the manager of this pavilion with this medallion?" "You can. Young Master has the 9-cauldron pavilion's gold VIP medallion. Please come with me. I'll go and inform him first." Soon, a maidservant led Xiaochen to the VIP room of this pavilion. After meeting the manager, the matter of buying a map went much smoother. Furthermore, the map that Xiaochen obtained was not a detailed one that ordinary people could easily obtain. The identity of a VIP helped him a lot. All that remained was to compare the map with the one in the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. Then, he would compare the current map with the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories and find the old lands of the Blue Dragon. This was not a good task. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor had been alive for 100,000 years already. 100,000 years ago, there was no such thing as the desolate sea. Xiaochen needed to walk around, continuously observing and comparing. There were many difficult problems to solve. The sea had changed into mulberry fields. 100,000 years had changed the landscape greatly, something that could not be explained in a few words. However, no matter how difficult it was, Xiaochen had to do it. As the last Blue Dragon descendant, Xiaochen was duty-bound to search for the map. 2 months later, on a mountain peak, Xiaochen opened his heavenly eye and looked into the distance. Then he muttered to himself, "Is this the place?" In the past 2 months, Xiaochen had traveled a lot and encountered many troublesome matters. Finally, he determined the general area. However, he did not dare to guarantee it. Before Xiaochen was a barren land of death covered in sand. The blazing sun shone down. Even a cultivator like Xiaochen found this somewhat unbearable, unable to endure this harsh sunlight. "This is too barren." Xiaochen closed his heavenly eye, showing a suspicious expression. This large region was too barren. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a land of death. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Suddenly, the sound of rocks tumbling came from the cliffs. Xiaochen looked in the direction of the sound. He saw a child carrying a medicinal herb on a cliff, climbing under the blazing sun. This was a native of the desolate sea, born and raised here. Hence, he was more accustomed to the environment here than outsiders. Over the past 2 months, Xiao Chen had seen many natives. Compared to the ordinary people of other places, they were much stronger. Compared to the ordinary people of other places, the ordinary people of the desolate sea had it much harder. The lack of water, the harsh environment, and the dangers at night were all tests of life and death. The child nimbly dodged the rocks and stopped. Then he revealed joy on his face. The child found a medicinal herb between the cliffs. The harsher the environment, the more valuable the medicinal herb that grew. In this place where vegetation was sparse, one could easily imagine the value of medicinal herbs. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Suddenly, he flicked his finger, and a strand of saber chi chopped a venomous snake hidden in the cliffs, about to attack. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and landed firmly, sending the startled child to the ground. "Thank you, Big Brother." "Big Brother, are you a cultivator?" The little girl did not panic. Clearly, she had seen many strong cultivators in the desolate sea. She blinked and asked curiously. The child's voice was clear and melodious. Xiao Chen had not noticed that the child was actually a girl. "You are too polite." Xiao Chen looked at the little girl. Her hands and feet were bruised. He could not bear to see her like this. "Where is your home? I'll send you there." Who knew, right after Xiao Chen said that, the little girl started crying. Little Qing Chen was chased out. Little Qing Chen no longer has a home. "Big Brother, if you want to help me, send this herb back. My little brother needs it." Chapter 2032. So, this girl is called Qing Chen. Why was she chased out? After being chased out, she still has to risk her life to pick herbs. How is this girl going to live in the future? Based on the girl's appearance, she should not be more than 10 years old, and her body was covered in dust. Xiao Chen felt somewhat sad. It was really difficult for ordinary people to live in the desolate sea. "Don't cry. I promise you that I will bring this herb back. However, tell me, why were you chased out? Who chased you out? Where are your parents?" Xiao Chen's string of questions confused the girl. The girl looked at Xiao Chen with watery eyes as she stammered, not knowing which to answer first. Xiao Chen knew that the girl was too anxious. He sighed and asked in a warmer tone, "Where are your parents?" Qing Chen does not have parents. They died when she was very young. This pitiful child turned out to be an orphan. Xiao Chen continued asking, "Who chased you out?" "Grandpa Village Chief." Grandpa Village Chief told little Qing Chen to go as far away as possible. So. However, little brother is sick. If I do not bring the herbs back to the spirit jades, what will happen to little brother? So. The girl seemed to have suffered a great grievance. Worried about her little brother's illness, she cried even harder. Xiao Chen did not continue asking. He waited for the girl to calm down before asking, "Where is your village?" "Over there." The girl pointed in a direction. Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense into his eyes and looked into the distance. There was indeed a village more than 50 kilometers away. Xiao Chen picked up the girl and carried her on his way. "Big Brother, I cannot go back. Grandpa Village Chief will be angry." The girl said somewhat fearfully, "Big Brother, just bring the herbs I picked back. Little Qing Chen cannot go back." As Xiao Chen looked at the setting sun in the distance, he said softly, "The sky is turning dark. Where can you go?" To Xiao Chen, 50 kilometers would not take long. Along the way, Xiao Chen ran into a group of bandits riding mutated beasts. Bandits were like sand in the desolate sea, everywhere. In the land of bloodshed, it was difficult for morality to exist. Chaos and slaughter coexisted. Xiao Chen didn't speak to the other party. He didn't even give the other party a chance to speak. Xiao Chen covered Qing Chen's eyes with his left hand and punched with his right. The 100 bandits in front of them, along with the strange beasts they rode, all turned into a bloody mist. After Qing Chen let go, she blinked. Why did that group of bad people suddenly disappear? Looking at his surroundings, he felt more and more familiar with them. Qing Chen felt both anticipation and fear. She did not dare to say anything in Xiao Chen's embrace. When it was getting dark, Xiao Chen arrived at the village. There were about 100 households in the village. The village was surrounded by a simple fence made of lightning-subduing wood, which was used to prevent dirty things from entering at night. The lightning-falling wood was a kind of wood in the desolate sea that had a suppressive effect on filthy things. Villages and other gathering places mostly had this kind of wood, forming a fence, making it look like a stockade. At this moment, the sky was getting dark. Many villagers were reinforcing the fence. When they saw Xiao Chen and the girl in his arms, they immediately panicked. "Quickly, tell the village chief that Qing Chen is back. Quick, quick, quick." These villagers stopped what they were doing and ran back in a fluster. This surprised Xiao Chen somewhat. When Qing Chen, who was put down, saw this scene, she felt sad and could not help crying again. Soon, the villagers escorted a skinny, hemp-robed old man over. The old man looked at Qing Chen, then at Xiao Chen. Then he sighed and said, "Bring her back. This young hero, it is getting dark. Come in and talk." This old man's cultivation was not high. However, the people who lived in the desolate sea were much stronger than the ordinary people outside. If one could not adapt to this harsh environment, one would not be able to survive. Hence, while this old man looked old, he was spirited. Seeing that this old man did not seem like a bad person, Xiao Chen said softly, "Village chief, these are herbs that little Qing Chen picked outside. She wants to give them to her younger brother." Qing Chen's eyes brimmed with tears as she carried the herbs over. She sobbed and said, "Grandpa Village Chief, little Qing Chen will not be going in. Grandpa Village Chief will help me sell these herbs. Take care of my younger brother. He is sick. I'm afraid that no one will take care of him." The old village chief let out a long sigh. A trace of sorrow flashed in his ancient eyes, and tears flickered in them. "Come in. It is getting dark. If there is anything, we can talk about it tomorrow. You should go and see your younger brother. Everyone has been taking care of him." "Really?" Qing Chen blinked but still did not dare to go in. Xiao Chen did not say anything. He picked her up and directly entered the village chief's residence. As the sky turned dark, the villagers quickly closed the village's wooden gates and scattered a layer of black dust along the way. After Xiao Chen sent Qing Chen to her house, Qing Chen could not help but bow to him. "Thank you, big brother. I'm going to see my younger brother." As for the wooden house, Xiao Chen did not enter. The old village chief sighed and led Xiao Chen to the side. "How should I address this old man?" The village chief said, "I am old and the seventh child. Everyone in the village calls me Grandpa Seven. In that case, I'll call you Grandpa Seven." The village chief quickly said, "You can't do that, you can't do that. With one look, I can tell that little brother is not an ordinary person. You have delicate features and delicate bones. How can you address me, an old man, as Grandpa Seven? It's fine. Let's go somewhere else to talk." Grandpa Seven led Xiao Chen to his house. There were other people in the house. When they heard that Grandpa Seven had an honored guest, they quickly took out wine and started to serve him. Unexpectedly, the wine poured out of the crude beeskin wine pouch was unexpectedly delicious. Xiao Chen drained it in one gulp. Then he exclaimed in shock, "Great wine! Grandpa Seven brewed this yourself?" Grandpa Seven revealed a smile on his wrinkled face. "Yes, a little craftsmanship passed down from my ancestors." An honest-looking youth at the side said, "How is it a little craftsmanship? The wine that our Grandpa Seven brewed is the best in the surrounding 5,000 kilometers. The wine that our ancestors brewed has even appeared in Desolate City's Heavenly Fragrance Banquet." Desolate City, the largest city in the Desolate Sea, could be considered a holy city. This city was very ancient, even older than some of the dragon cities in the Divine Dragon Empire. This city gathered the factions of the world, a dazzling pearl in the Desolate Sea. As for the Heavenly Fragrance Banquet, it was even more incredible. The Heavenly Fragrance Holy Land would hold a banquet every 100 years, inviting everyone. It was a rare event in the world that could attract all the factions. Grandpa Seven sighed, "This is all in the past. The world is too chaotic now, and ingredients are hard to find. The skill of brewing wine was mostly lost in my generation. What is the point of knowing how to brew wine in this day and age?" Grandpa Seven's words were filled with emotion. His tone was filled with sorrow. Xiao Chen changed the topic. Grandpa 7, why did you chase little Qing Chen out? I can tell that you are not a ruthless person. Is there a reason for this? The great rock soars with the wind and soars 45,000 kilometers. Little brother, your aura is extraordinary. Sooner or later, you will soar into the sky. Our small village is not even a drop of water in the great rock's eyes. Little brother, why do you have to worry about such things? The old man could tell that Xiao Chen was not an ordinary cultivator, so he said that Xiao Chen had a great future ahead of him. The small matters of the village were nothing compared to his world, so he told Xiao Chen to ignore them. The great rock would not pay attention to you, who leaped up with the waves as it soared. When it soared, it would cross 5,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, it would become nothing. It could only fly higher and further by looking forward. Grandpa 7's words were a tactful rejection and also out of politeness. There was also some pride, not wanting to ask a stranger for help. He could clearly see that Xiao Chen and Xiao Chen were people of two different worlds. Grandpa 7, you can't say things like that. Xiao Chen found this somewhat strange. He put down his wine cup and wanted to say something. However, Grandpa 7 interrupted him. In the desolate sea, there is always blood and death every day. Even the sages cannot deal with this. Little brother, you really don't have to worry. Everyone has their own fate in this world. You should rest well here tonight. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he felt helpless. He knew that this matter could not be rushed. The night passed quietly. When the sun rose, Xiao Chen walked out of his house and saw the villagers gathered together, worshipping a lone peak in the distance. The lone peak was a verdant mountain. However, there was no vegetation on it, looking like it was made of divine metal. Xiao Chen looked at it and frowned heavily. He could not help feeling suspicious. This green mountain had an extraordinary aura. When it rose from the ground, it gave off a sharp aura that soared into the sky. However, when it reached the summit, this aura stopped. There was a flat platform at the summit. It looked neat and smooth, like someone had chopped it off. After these people finished worshipping, Xiao Chen went to find the honest-looking youth in Grandpa 7's house yesterday and asked about it. When the honest-looking youth heard this question, he scratched his head and said, I don't know either. What's strange about this place? I heard that every morning, they worship this green mountain. This is a rule passed down by our ancestors. I don't know what they worship either. However, after worshipping it, I do feel somewhat at ease. It's strange. Has no one gone to take a look? That place is not clean. Even if it's daytime, it is still very gloomy. After getting within 10 kilometers, no one dares to go over. Grandpa 7 also warned us not to go over. Xiao Chen could not help feeling even more suspicious. Suddenly, the honest-looking youth leaned over and whispered, I once heard from the elders in the village that this mountain originally had a dragon head. It has always been a dragon head mountain. Later, the dragon head broke, and it became unclean. Chapter 2033. Grandpa 7, the village chief, smoked his pipe as he watched Xiao Chen go in and out every day. He showed a complicated expression, but he did not say anything. When Xiao Chen saw that Grandpa 7 had some difficulty squeezing through the crowd, his face filled with excitement. Xiao Chen could not reject Grandpa 7's kind intentions, so he dismounted and bent his back to let Qing Chen put on a garland of flowers for him. Xiao Chen felt slightly startled. He had seen many bandits recently, but Iron Egg had never shown such shock on his face. When Xiao Chen opened his palm, boundless electric light and saber chi burst out, and blood blossomed in the air. Iron Egg said anxiously, Scram. Who said that I, Iron Egg, am not good-looking? I've been walking around the village with Big Brother Xiao for the past few days. Many ladies like me. The ordinary people who lived in the desolate sea always lacked food and water. The old people told him everything they knew, saying that this was how their ancestors passed it down. No one had seen it for themselves. Normally, before the other party could say anything, they would kill them in an instant. You speak a lot of nonsense. Iron Egg, You told me earlier that there was a dragon head on the Azure Mountain. Which old person in the village said that? Xiao Chen had not experienced life for a long time already. After spending a few days together, he felt rueful. After dealing with the corpses, Xiao Chen turned his head to look at the Azure Mountain. Then, he returned to the village with Iron Egg. After searching for many days, Xiao Chen obtained some useful information. As Grandpa Seven smoked his pipe, he led Xiao Chen to his house. Iron Egg, you are not embarrassed. With your dark and swarthy face, you will not look good even if you wear it, someone mocked. Everyone guffawed. Blood flowed endlessly, and Iron Egg died on the spot, falling off the horse. Xiao Chen put down his wine cup and nodded. I want to know where the dragon head went. Big brother, wear a garland of flowers and look good. When Qing Chen saw the garland she weaved on Xiao Chen's head, she felt overjoyed. Iron Egg rubbed his head and smiled. Little Qing Chen, why don't you make one for your big brother Iron Egg as well? However, the Azure Mountain, which had soared with an imposing aura, suddenly stopped, made Iron Egg enter deep thought. They would bring large prey back to the village. Xiao Chen said with a smile, why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything wrong. If you have time, come with me to the other villages. I still want to ask around. Let's go back first. I don't have a name. Everyone in the village calls me Tai Dan, the honest-looking young man said shyly. Keep bragging. At this moment, the honest-looking young man said that there used to be a dragon head on the Green Mountain. To think that he was actually a holy venerate like Xiao Chen. However, when asked why they worshipped Qing Shan, no one could give them an answer. Leave it to me. Bruiser felt a little embarrassed that he hadn't found anything. Yes, I know. Brother Xiao Chen, can you teach me martial arts? I want to be like you. Tai Dan said with some longing. It's only been a few days, but he's already helped me gather enough food for several years. I don't have to risk my life hunting anymore. With so many legends put together, it could basically be confirmed. Don't tell anyone about what happened today. Big brother, here you go. Xiao Chen did not say much. Tai Dan was just an early-stage holy venerate. Xiao Chen grabbed with his palm. He could not be bothered to waste time with Tai Dan, so he executed Firmament's Rage. Tai Dan was not very knowledgeable and did not understand the difference in strength between cultivators, which was why he was so shocked. All the villages within 5,000 kilometers did indeed have a tradition of worshipping Qing Shan. Qing Shan was the dragon head. Many villages had similar legends. The black-cloaked man glanced at Xiao Chen and sensed that the other party's cultivation was higher than his. There had indeed been a dragon head on the Green Mountain. However, it was already so long ago that it could not be considered. While laughing, Xiao Chen discovered Grandpa Seven in the distance, smoking a pipe and looking at him. But for the mortals of the mortal world, surviving was what they had to face and think about at every moment. Right now, Xiao Chen's combat prowess rivaled that of an initial perfection's sovereign personage. Squashing a holy venerate to death would be as easy as squashing an ant. After looking carefully for a while, Xiao Chen discovered that the leader actually cultivated a demonic Dao cultivation technique and possessed a significant cultivation. There was a dragon head on the Green Mountain? Tai Dan still did not dare to believe that Xiao Chen could kill the demonic Dao envoy with one palm strike. After arriving at the village, Xiao Chen took out a huge ferocious beast from his storage ring. All the households rejoiced. They had been waiting for a long time to cut up the ferocious beast meat. In the following days, many old people have said this before. What's wrong? Big brother Xiao, you don't really believe that there is a dragon head on Azure Peak, right? Iron Egg was astonished that Xiao Chen actually believed the nonsense he spouted. The two did not return empty-handed this time. The group of bandits before them seemed somewhat different. When Xiao Chen looked over, he discovered that the leaders seemed somewhat strange. Xiao Chen and Tai Dan traveled everywhere. They went out during the day and returned at night. They never returned empty-handed. How dare you attack my people? You are seeking death. Tai Dan's attire made him look very valiant. Xiao Chen borrowed a horse from the village, and the two went out together. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, A strand of saber chi pierced through the foreheads of the surrounding bandits. Qing Chen struggled out of the crowd with some difficulty. Then she ran over excitedly, holding up a garland she made from tree branches and wildflowers. Young hero Xiao is really our village's lucky star. Xiao Chen never had a good impression of bandits. Their bodies contained spiritual energy. When ordinary people consumed them, they would strengthen their physique, tendons, and bones. They were great supplements. Whoosh! When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt startled. He looked at the distant azure mountain and remained silent. To cultivators, this piece of land was filled with fortuitous encounters. Naturally, Xiao Chen was not satisfied with such an answer. How could words be trusted without any proof? However, Tai Dan's words made Xiao Chen somewhat wary. Xiao Chen instantly grabbed Tai Dan, not giving Tai Dan a chance to flee. That was why there were no clear words or words passed down. Xiao Chen said softly, "It's hard to say for sure. There is always some basis to legends. Do me a favor and bring me to meet the elders in the village." To think that a bona fide holy venerate would team up with a group of bandits. This was truly shocking. Xiao Chen needed to make time to go to the Azure Mountain and take a look. Just at this moment, the urgent sound of horse hooves rang out. It was a group of ostentatious bandits. The leader wore a black cloak and a conical bamboo hat, covering himself well. This ferocious beast meat was very different from the wild beasts they normally hunted. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. After some thought, he asked, "What is your name?" This was rather rare. The bandits that Xiao Chen normally met only knew some mediocre martial arts. Those who were slightly strong would not go to the extent of becoming bandits. There were too many ways to survive. "Big brother Xiao, it looks like I can't help you." On hearing that Xiao Chen was willing to help him hunt, Tai Dan felt incredibly excited. Soon, he appeared on a handsome horse with a bow on his back and a large saber at his waist. Dragon Head Mountain. A bandit pointed at Xiao Chen as he held the reins of his horse. "Ha! It's just a small matter. Everyone is dying to talk to someone like Big Brother Xiao. Come, I'll lead you there." A look of terror appeared in Bruiser's eyes, and he clenched his right fist in fury. He said coldly, "Friend, you just arrived at the desolate sea. Don't you know the rules? If you know what's good for you, get lost. Don't provoke people you shouldn't provoke." Xiao Chen and Iron Egg rode ferocious horses and stopped at a riverside, looking up at the green mountains. From afar it approached the two of them. After they sat down and drank a cup of wine, Grandpa Seven said, "Little brother, have you been asking about Dragon Head Qing Shan recently?" "Big brother Xiao, you killed the demon envoy." As for worshipping the Green Mountain, it was already a tradition. All the villages in this area had this tradition. He planned to stay here for a while before continuing his search. It looked like these bandits were backed by a demonic Dao faction. They were not as simple as they seemed. The people in the village were all overjoyed. They did not expect to see a martial artist. He actually stayed in the village and even helped them hunt. Demon envoy? It was just something passed down by word of mouth, passed down from generation to generation. This startled the black-clad man. He had not expected Xiao Chen to attack at the drop of a hat, instantly killing the group of bandits by his side. That's the black-clad man from earlier. All the bandits in the vicinity are under the control of the demon envoys. They are like demons. No one dares to disobey their orders. They are simply demonic gods. The horse that Xiao Chen sat on felt the black-clad man's emotions and started neighing somewhat restlessly. Bruiser was so shocked that he even stuttered. Under Bruiser's lead, Xiao Chen asked several elders in the village about the dragon head on the Green Mountain. "Sure, but I have to go out to hunt. I have not hunted for half a month already." Xiao Chen had long noticed that Grandpa Seven wanted to say something. After saying that to Bruiser, he walked over. "Milord, it's him. Recently, he killed many of our brothers, never leaving anyone alive. We spent a lot of effort to find him." Xiao Chen had found this place based on the maps of the modern realm and the modern realm. Originally, he had some doubts and did not dare to be sure. Chapter 2034. I would like to know where the dragon head went. Grandpa Seven tapped the table with his pipe. Wrinkles filled his aged face as he sighed. How many years has it been? There have been people coming to look for the dragon head, but no one has found it. People thought that it was just a legend long ago. Little brother, don't take it too seriously and delay your proper business. A thought occurred to Xiao Qin. Others have come to look for it? There were many in the past, but there are fewer now. When I was young, I saw my grandfather entertain one person. Since then, no one has come. Before that, people came intermittently, but they all returned disappointed. There is nothing to look for. Grandpa Seven puffed out a mouthful of smoke as he looked at Xiao Qin through the smoke. From what I remember, that person's aura is somewhat similar to little brother's. Somewhat similar? Xiao Qin casually waved his hand and used his veritable essence energy to draw a portrait in the air. When Grandpa Seven saw the portrait, he exclaimed in shock, "That's him. Little brother, you know him? I remember that back then he came alone as well. He was as kind as little brother. I wonder how he is now." The person in the portrait was the previous generation Heaven Dragon. Now, Xiao Qin was certain that this place was the Blue Dragon's old haunt. There were no more surprises. However, Xiao Qin could not immediately answer Grandpa Seven's question. The previous generation Heaven Dragon was currently locked up in the Starry Heavens Dragon Prison, suffering inhumane torture day and night. He is very good and very tenacious. Xiao Qin paused for a while. That was all he could say. Grandpa Seven smiled and sighed. You cultivators are good, unlike us ordinary people. We do not have enough talent and cannot cultivate. Otherwise, my grandfather would be able to live until now. However, living in the Desolate Sea is not a good thing. Practically no sect in the Desolate Sea would accept disciples or nurture disciples here. Firstly, the land was vast and sparsely populated, and resources were scarce. Secondly, there were too few natives in the northern region. The sects here were all branches of the various large factions. These sects would draw disciples from their headquarters and slowly develop. Xiao Qin was deep in thought. Since the Heaven Dragon of the previous generation had been here before, did he leave any clues behind? After some questioning, Lord Seven recalled with some difficulty, I really can't remember clearly. Let me look for it. Grandpa Seven gulped down a mouthful of wine and began rummaging through the old house. Found it. Grandpa Seven took out a yellowed book from an old box. He patted the dust off it and said, This is my grandfather's diary. I remember that he would write down all the major matters in this book. Xiao Qin received it solemnly. He revealed a joyful expression and said, Seventh Grandpa, thank you so much. This thing is very useful to me. Grandpa Seven smiled and said, If it's useful, then take it. You've helped the village so much these past few days. I don't know how to repay you. You're too polite, Seventh Master. That's right, when I saw Seventh Master earlier, I wanted to say something but hesitated. It seemed like I had something to say? Xiao Qin put away the book and asked softly. Grandpa Seven nodded and said, There is indeed something that I would like to ask little brother for help with. However, this old man has not been able to repay me, so I have not been able to say anything. Xiao Qin smiled and said, Grandpa Seven is too polite. It is not convenient for me to tell you about my fate with this place for now. However, you can rest assured. If you have anything to say, just say it. I owe you. When Grandpa Seven saw Xiao Qin's sincere expression, he sighed softly. There is a peach blossom city 1,500,000 kilometers away. There is a small-scale peach blossom wine festival every 10 years and a large-scale peach blossom wine festival every 100 years. Peach Blossom City. Xiao Qin had seen this city before when he was roaming around. Indeed, the fragrance of wine spread everywhere. One could smell it from 50 kilometers away. However, as Xiao Qin was in a rush, he did not enter the city to take a look. Senior, please continue. Yes. When I was young, I would bring the wine that I brewed to the wine festival. Even if I could not make it stand out, I could sell it for a good price, helping the village not to worry about food and clothing for a few years. However, 30 years ago, after the ancient well outside the village dried up, it could no longer brew any good wine. When Xiaochen heard that, he smiled and said, "Do you always want to come out of retirement and participate in this centennial wine festival? I am also a wine lover. Grandpa 7, if you have any requests, just let me know." Grandpa 7 sighed and said, "I did not do this on a whim. Peach Blossom City's city lord is a major character. If he takes a fancy to the wine brewed by someone in the Centennial Wine Festival, he will agree to one request of the brewer. With just one word from him, our village will be safe for 100 years. Although the chances are slim, I still want to risk these old bones of mine and give it a try." Centennial Wine Festival. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Grandpa 7 seemed to be worried about something. There seemed to be a hint of worry on his face. Unfortunately, Xiaochen had already finished drinking heartburn long ago. He had used it to stabilize his cultivation and raise his cultivation. As for the 1,000-year flame, Xiaochen still had half a bottle left. If he dripped a drop into the Blue Dragon wine flask, he could fill it to the brim, which he could use to participate in the Peach Blossom Wine Festival. Before Xiaochen drank heartburn, he had felt that the 1,000-year flame was the best wine in the world. However, after drinking heartburn, Xiaochen had to admit that there were indeed more outstanding wines in the Great Thousand Realms. It was hard to say whether the 1,000-year flame could take the top spot in the Peach Blossom Wine Festival. "Grandpa 7, look at this wine recipe. Can you brew it?" Xiaochen thought for a while and took out the wine recipe. Perhaps Grandpa 7 could brew it himself. "This is the Dragon Race's wine, heartburn." Grandpa 7 felt somewhat startled. He quickly returned the recipe to Xiaochen and said, "This wine recipe has been lost for several thousand years. If I brew it and participate in the wine festival, I might attract a fatal disaster." "There's hope." When Xiaochen saw the situation, he rejoiced in his heart. He smiled and said, "Grandpa 7, there is no rush. Help me brew it. I won't participate in the wine festival. How about I drink it myself?" Grandpa 7 hesitated before saying, "However, I'm afraid that I cannot obtain the ingredients." "It's fine. Leave the ingredients to me." "Grandpa 7, what wine do you want to brew? I'll take care of all the ingredients." "All right, but we need to restore the ancient well outside the village first. Without that well water, we can't do anything. Without that well water, your heartburn and the wine I want to brew will not succeed. I'll go and take a look. If I really can't do it, I'll go further away and look for a replacement well water." What well water was so important? Feeling suspicious, Xiaochen arrived at an ancient well not far from the village. The well water had already dried up long ago. "Sang, what's strange about this well?" Xiaochen asked after calling out softly. Xiaochen did not have any outstanding talents, so he could only ask Sang to take a look. Sang was an expert in this aspect. Sang came out of the Divine Universe steel and looked at the dried well. Then he looked at the surrounding terrain. His expression changed slightly as he said softly, "This is a cold spring. To think that a cold spring can appear in the desolate sea." Cold spring? That's the spring that appears in places of extreme Places of extreme are bone-chilling, extremely cold. It is very difficult for running water to flow. If there is, and the terrain happens to produce a fountain, it will be called a cold spring. First of all, places of extreme are very hard to find in the desolate sea. Having running water is even harder. Furthermore, the terrain produces a fountain, which is even harder. Sang paused for a while before continuing, "The spring water of a cold spring is indeed suitable for brewing good wine. It is very difficult to find a substitute." That was somewhat problematic. It looked like Grandpa 7 was right. If the wine recipe stated that it required the spring water of a cold spring, there was indeed no way to brew it. Why did the spring water stop? There are too many reasons. It might be that the water source broke, or the energy might be too dense, causing the water to stop flowing. It might also be that the terrain changed, and the underground water flowed further downstream. As the propping mulberry tree, Sang knew the terrain and the spring water like the back of his hand. There was no need to doubt Sang's words. "It looks like I still have to go down and take a look," Xiaochen said softly as he stared at the deep, dried well. Don't go down first. Sang pulled Xiaochen back, not letting him rush down. What's wrong? Xiaochen did not understand. Sang explained seriously that Grandpa Seven is just an ordinary person and does not know much about the Coldine Spring. I suspect that this Coldine Spring is not naturally formed. Man-made? That is too exaggerated. Who could change the terrain so precisely, even altering yin and yang to create a place of extreme yin? When Xiaochen heard that, he felt flabbergasted, somewhat in disbelief. Sang said softly, although it is somewhat difficult, I have seen everything you said before. It is very difficult for a cold yin spring to appear in the desolate sea. It is not appropriate to go down rashly. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then, he looked up at the decapitated blue dragon in the distance and then at the cold yin spring. Sang's words were indeed worth thinking about. A green mountain with a decapitated dragon head and a dried-up cold yin spring. If these two were connected, it would indeed feel a chill. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.